Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning on this cloudy day, Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Welcome to the Standing Policy Committee of Public Works. I am Councillor Lukes. I'll be chairing this meeting. I'd like to welcome Councillor Chambers and Councillor Wyatt to the meeting. Maybe we'll get a motion when we start. Councillor Sharma can't be here. Maybe I'll start with the land and water acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 2 territory. I'd also like to welcome people in the gallery here this morning, people watching online, and the public service, and our senior committee clerk, Mr. Prinsloo. Could I have a motion to pass the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
Councillor Chambers, all in favor? All right.
I'd like to suspend the rules and move a motion to excuse Councillor Sharma from today's committee meeting.
All right, for personal business. All right.
For all three reasons.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right. Now we've got some delegations here. We're going to stick to a tight schedule. We're going to start with Patrick Stewart. Speaking to report number 1.
Mr. Stewart has emailed this morning and said he's unavailable to attend today. So we can go to Mr. Cornelson, who is here to speak to item 3.
Perfect. All right. Mr. Cornelson, come up, and you're speaking to report number 3. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Good morning. Great to be here. Okay, shall I begin?
You have 10 minutes. You can start.
Awesome. I'm not going to speak very long. I'm here to just speak about the speak with respect to the annual report on snow clearing and ice control. So the West End is one of the most walkable neighborhoods in Winnipeg. Over 400 of our members are sidewalk fronting businesses, and they rely on regularly cleared sidewalks for customer access. Over the last year, we've had the opportunity to discuss snow clearing with Councillor Lukes and the manager of street maintenance, Michael Cantor. And I wanted to express our appreciation for the time given by both to discuss how snow clearing operations work and where improvements could be made, and then discuss how our businesses are impacted by that. We found that this year that snow clearing was more effective than in the past on sidewalks. Generally, within a day, P1 routes are cleared, and P3 routes in the West End were often plowed within 2 days. We found that sidewalks are sometimes plowed mid-snow event as well, which was good to see. Obviously, there were some hitches this year with the ice control matters, which was a negative impact. But on the snow clearing front, we were very happy with the frequency. Generally, we saw the city doing a tidier job when it came to leaving behind ridges when clearing one sidewalk across another. But there were some cases where the issue persisted. The Biz has in the past relied on its snow clearing its Bobcat snow plow to address some of these areas. And that Bobcat was purchased several years ago with the support of Councillor Gilroy. The report that I'm speaking on today acknowledges ongoing support from Council for improved snow clearing on P3 sidewalks. This improvement is important for the West End neighborhood, which has many P3 streets, and a significant proportion of residents walk, bike, and bus to local businesses. So again, I just want to acknowledge that the improvement was welcome to see. Again, we appreciate working with the chair of this committee, Councillor Lukes, with the committee itself, and of course, Council. And we look forward to seeing ongoing improvement to sidewalk snow clearing in the West End.
Okay. Any questions, Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation this morning. Of course, last year was a bit of an anomaly with milder weather and not as much snowfall. So it will be very interesting to see what happens when a normal Winnipeg winter occurs, and the commitment to snow clearing as we've committed to, and seeing what that impact will be. So appreciate again what your presentation this morning, and see what does manifest and transpire after a quote unquote traditional Winnipeg winter.
Absolutely. We look forward to kind of seeing in the future and again, continue to work with the city and with the councillors on this topic.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no more questions, then I just want to thank you for having these meetings. They're really insightful. I think they're good for the department. They're good for me to, try and refine the sidewalk clearing, because really it is a more refined work than road clearing, right? I'm sure you are very happy to see that now with the additional purchase of those machines that we can do a P3 in 36 hours after P1s and 2s are done. And then, as noted, but you know this because we talked about it in another meeting we just had, was the fact that we will be able to have live updates every 5 to 10 minutes on where these plows are going due to the AVR, automatic vehicle, is it R? L locator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. So, and you know what, in speaking with Mr. Cantor, and we'll speak to him today further about this snow and ice issue. He indicated that they're very willing to really do a deep dive into what other comparable cities are doing. I know that Ottawa uses more salt, Montreal's got some different equipment, but he's here to investigate this further. We'll be making a motion just to make sure that we get on that right away and see what we can do, because it is our trough scenario where the water can't drain and the freeze thaw cycle, which, maybe with the future is more frequent occurrence, right? We got to figure that out and deal with it. But this sort of went well this winter, but there really wasn't a lot of snow. So we'll see how it goes. And thank you for your input, and thank you for all you've done on transit. Different topic, but we had that at council last week, and yahoo, right?
I know, it feels like I was looking up the Public Works agenda meeting this morning and Google's like, you frequently visit this site. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming down. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So now our next delegation up is Melissa Graham, Executive Director of the Manitoba League of Persons with Disabilities. So Melissa,
Right.
welcome.
Be so kind as to move that chair.
Yeah, we've got the clerk on that. Oh, and you're here to talk about the same report. All right. All righty.
Good morning, Madam Chair and councilors.
Morning.
It's great to be here and not winter weather in June. So
Almost though. Could be a lot warmer.
it could. So I'm here on
July.
behalf of MLPD. We were one of the lead organizations on the brand new snowplow campaign, which was a coalition of different disability and senior organizations in the city. I think some of our team met with Michael Khan and yourself, Chair, about we're not just here to complain about the snow, we're here to try and make it better from a perspective of when there's too much snow. A lot of people we represent can't leave their homes, can't participate in the city. So we were very glad to see the increased snow clearing. I think as the previous speakers had, it was much better this year. Although I think Mother Nature and climate change gave us some advantage there. I myself, usually I can't take the bus in the winter, and I found myself taking the bus this winter. So I think that says a bit about how clear it was this year. So we're glad to see those improvements. We're glad to see this motion put forward about the 36 hours. What we would like to see, we're a little discouraged about, was the note there about the weekends and holidays, with some concern that on a Monday morning, when folks are trying to get to work or school or whatever they need to do, you could eventually have a 72-hour buildup happening there. So in our ideal world, we would like to see weekends, and I don't know if you could include holidays, but including that in maybe striking that line from your motion, because if we get a bad winter storm on a Friday, how long is that going to accumulate? A couple other points I wanted to make, just about slush. As far as I've seen in the current snow policy, there's really nothing that allows for the clearing of slush. And in a lot of areas that we looked at throughout the city, that was responsible for quite a bit of ice, which we've noted is an issue. Slush in itself is also a very hazard. Because we don't clear to the pavement in the city, what we end up with often is quite a thick layer of slush that often I don't know if you've seen the wheels on my chair, but they can be quite actually as thick as the wheels on my chair. So what happens when that starts to thaw is that people, and not just people in 500-pound wheelchairs like myself, but anyone can sink in that slush, and it becomes quite a safety hazard for folks. I know last winter I had an appointment about 10-15 minutes from my place, and it wasn't conceivable to take transit bus. There was no bus route going that way, so I walked it, thinking it's a nice warm day, it's sunny. I didn't factor in the slush, and I got stuck not once but twice. And I saw other people, like ambulatory people, getting stuck as well. So if we had something in our snow clearing policy that allowed for some clearing of the slush when you know the vehicles are less busy, that would help with that safety issue, but it would also help, I think, with a significant amount of the ice problem. I know I see that for sure in my neighborhood, where that slush that we've left basically turns into a giant ice sheet down the sidewalk, right? Like, even my partner, who's a fairly ambulatory person, was padding out and holding onto my chair a few times. He would have had some falls, I think, last winter. So just want to add that as a suggestion. And also to say that while I think it's fantastic that you're including all of these ways that people can make sure their sidewalks are cleared, make sure you're doing that in an accessible way. I know we did some work with another website in the city that I don't think I can mention on record because it's not live yet, but maybe if you want to speak with that department about some of the suggestions that we gave for their accessible website, you might want to consider implementing those for the snow clearing announcements as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, all right. Well, that's great, Melissa. I was expecting a little more of a, I don't know, you're the connoisseur of mobility here, so.
I'm a little nice today. I want to appreciate good things.
Do we have any questions,
Yeah.
Captain Chambers?
So, back in 2022, I think it was, Councillor Lukes organized a session with Public Works
Yes,
staff,
Melissa came.
and you came, that was at the convention center.
Yeah.
And I do recall,
Yeah.
you attending that meeting, providing some valuable information, I think led to where we are now in terms of snow clearing, for the city. So, thank you.
So we're going to ask, I did mention this earlier to Mr. Cornelison, we are going to ask Mr. Cantor, the Director of Snow Removal, to do a further investigation into other cities, how they're dealing with ice / all of that. The challenge we have, of course, is sort of this trough effect. We go down, we plow the sidewalk, the snow pushes to the side. In the downtown, we can clean off some of the windrows, the snow banks, so then the water can flow, right? The challenge with slush is in all these thousands of kilometers of sidewalks and pathways, if we don't clear that one bank off, the water can't drain. Then the trickiness about slush is on a route, sometimes there's shade, then there's sun. So there's patches of slush. It's not like the whole thing is slush, right? Because of the shade and in the city and all of those factors. So it is a challenge, but you know what? We're gonna task Mr. Cantor to see what he can come up with.
Great. I will say, I think the campaign is going to be starting up again for next winter. So if you want to reach out to us, I know there's people that are more technically knowledgeable than myself that are part of that campaign. So
Yeah.
I would encourage even you as councilors to attend our meetings and
Yeah, invite me. I'd love to. I love talking about ice and slush. So I'm not technical, but I really have a good handle on it. So that's one area we'll be addressing. I hear you on the weekends. We're going to talk to Mr. Cantor about that too. Yeah, I totally hear you about Monday mornings after a weekend, and and people like to be out and about on the weekends too, right? So
and I think it supports local business as well.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming down. We really appreciate this. We really appreciate hearing the input. We hear about it all year round. Then when the report comes, like, wow, we get 2 people. So thank you for being one of the 2.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Melissa. All right. Now, the next people we're going to hear is Miguel Gauthier and Brandon Gunter. Are we going to hear both of them come up regarding report 5?
Yeah.
Just you. And are you Miguel?
I'm Brandon.
You're Brandon. Okay, perfect. This is in regards to the large quadricycles.
That's correct.
All right. Okay,
All right.
good morning. You have 10 minutes to tell us whatever you want.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. I'm going to be talking a little bit about our business and the significant benefits that it has to and brings to our downtown area, as well as local breweries, bars, and the overall tourism industry in our city. As we explore these benefits, I think you'll come to understand why Pedal Pub Winnipeg is a valuable asset to our community. So I want to start with just a little bit of background. Essentially, what we do, we offer a unique, fun, eco-friendly group activity where participants pedal a 15-passenger pub on wheels, essentially. These tours navigate through downtown Winnipeg. They stop at local breweries, bars, restaurants, distilleries. This innovative concept not only provides entertainment, but also contributes to the local economy in many meaningful ways. So I'll start with the economic impact on downtown Winnipeg. So we did a study last year and found that each tour that we send out generates around $1,200 in revenue for local businesses, creating hundreds of thousands of additional revenue and taxable income for our partners and local government. This influx of funds supports our downtown economy by attracting visitors. Both tourists and locals participate in these tours. Increased foot traffic in the downtown area. There's also encouraged spending, so participants spend money on food, drinks, other services, boosting the economic vitality of our city. Supporting local businesses, obviously, direct spending at breweries, bars, distilleries, and restaurants enhances their profitability and sustainability. Basically, our tours are designed to highlight and promote local establishments, providing them with direct customer traffic. The partnership benefits these businesses by driving customer engagement. So tours bring new and repeat customers. Many of them become regular patrons. It increases the visibility of these businesses. So collaborations with the Pedal Pub raise the profile, and participating establishments attract more business. It also supports the growth. So the additional revenue helps these businesses expand and improve their offerings. And then I also wanted to highlight that it's important to know that Pedal Pub Winnipeg doesn't request or share profits at all with these businesses. The partnership basically revolves around them having an area for our guests, and they keep 100% of the profits that they make off the guests. We make money off the customers booking the tour. So it also enhances the tourism industry. Pedal Pub Winnipeg is a unique and attractive addition to our city's tourism portfolio. It enhances Winnipeg's appeal by offering a memorable experience. Tourists are drawn to the fun and interactive nature of the Pedal Pub tours, which leave lasting positive impressions. So you can see that just by Googling us. We have a lot of satisfied customers, and they often share their experiences online. So if you were to just Google us, you'd see that we have over 800 5-star reviews already. And then we also attract diverse groups to the booking. So from corporate outings to celebratory events, we attract a wide range of visitors, increasing overall tourism traffic. So I want to touch just a little bit on the revenue generation again. Essentially, like I said, each tour is about $1,200 to the local businesses. The annual impacts amounts to hundreds of thousands of dollars added to the local downtown economy. In our first 2 years of operations, we have operated close to 500 tours, which results in almost $600,000 spent in local establishments in our downtown area. So our expectations, should this bylaw pass and we get some more licensing, we are going to be looking to sell probably 500 or more tours per season. That'll result in over $600,000 per summer. And this is based off of what other districts have done. So like Saskatchewan and Alberta both, allow these bikes and both allow liquor on the bikes. So they've seen some big increases in sales once the liquor licenses have passed. So this also supports local employment. Increased business for local establishments leads to job creation and stability. It stimulates our downtown economy. The multiplier effect of this revenue generates further economic activity in other sectors, such as retail and entertainment. It also fosters sustainable growth. So essentially, regular tours ensure a consistent flow of income, promoting long-term economic health for the city. And we also have some community and cultural impact. Pedal Pub Winnipeg fosters a sense of community and cultural appreciation by, bringing people together. Tours create a shared experience that enhances community bonds. It showcases local culture, so participants are introduced to Winnipeg's cultural and historic landmarks, increasing local pride and engagement. It supports local events. Pedal Pub actively participates in and promotes local cultural events and festivities, enriching our city's cultural landscape. And then there's obviously some environmental benefits as well. So it aligns with the city's goals on offering sustainable tourism option, and these include, an eco-friendly transportation. So essentially, the Pedal Pub nature of the tours means zero emissions, reducing the city's carbon footprint as it's all muscle powered. Promoting sustainability by encouraging eco-friendly activities. Pedal Pub helps foster a culture of environmental responsibility among residents and visitors. And we also take safety very seriously. So we have developed safety protocols in accordance with the province of Manitoba. I have those with me today and can share them if you guys like. All of our pilots are required to have their Smart Choices certifications as well as their bike operations certification. And we only operate in high pedestrian traffic areas. So it's slower speeds that we're on. The roads that we're on are slower speeds. Our operation provides some traffic slowing, which actually makes the streets safer for pedestrians. In total, we have conducted over 600 tours to this day with no incidents, traffic or otherwise. I wanted to just talk about our partners. So local business owners and customers consistently praise us for the positive impact we provide. We currently have 10 partner bars, including James Avenue Pump House, Patent 5, King's Head Pub, the local eatery, Lake of the Woods Brewing, Devil May Care Brewing, La Roca, The Common, and The Forks, or The Common at The Forks, and Little Brown Jug, and Elephant and Castle, all of which would be happy to vouch for the positive impact we have had on their business. So to kind of finalize everything, in light of these benefits, we would encourage the council to support the bylaw that would enable Pedal Pub Winnipeg to continue its operations while being governed by the specific set of rules laid out by the province and the city of Winnipeg. If the council decides not to move forward with the bylaw, it will cost dozens of jobs. It will damage the downtown tourism industry, cost local businesses hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and I think overall send a negative message to future entrepreneurs that would like to start a unique business in Winnipeg. So all in all, thank you for your time and attention. I just want to say Pedal Pub is more than just a fun activity. It is a significant asset to our downtown, local businesses, and overall tourism industry. We would even invite you to experience a Pedal Pub tour firsthand and see its positive impact. We look forward to your support and collaboration in making Winnipeg an even more vibrant and thriving community. Thank you. That's all I have. I'll take any questions.
Okay, all right, Councillor Chambers.
No, thank you for your presentation, and I have had the opportunity to see the quadricycle in use.
Okay.
My question is around the use of or the consumption or limited consumption of alcohol beverages while using this. What are the rules and regulations that are in place? As these cycles are being used.
Yeah, so essentially we're working with the province.
I realize that there's a harmonization between city bylaws and the provincial statutes that regulate. So
so the LGCA is in control of all of that. Every body that we've talked to has referred it to the LGCA, so it's their responsibility to approve or decline that. And basically, we're working with them currently to create a guideline and rules to have that would enable us to safely operate with consumption of alcohol on the bike. Alberta already does it, Saskatchewan does it. So both those provinces, our neighboring provinces, allow it already. So they're basically copying those guidelines. And then we're gonna, initialize them here.
So it won't be limited. I see in the report that you must carry a $5 million liability insurance.
Right.
But it's not. Based on what licensed gambling and alcohol, liquors, lotteries, and
Cannabis
is regulating. You have certain rules that your customers must
Yeah.
adhere to as well?
Yeah, we have rules and guidelines to follow set out by the LGCA. So they have their specific, so basically what happened was in 2023, we advocated for a new provincial rule to come in that would allow the LGCA to, instead of have cookie cutter licenses, to create and design a license that could be designed to a certain business. So that passed in 2023, which allowed us to sit down with the LGCA, go over all of the things that we need to do in order to operate safely and have those guidelines. And then, get the approvals from the necessary, organizations and government bodies and everything like that. We have all of our approvals in place, aside from the city bylaw, which is, you guys would be the last one as long as it is approved. And then, going forward, we would just kind of, operate within LGA's specific guidelines and rules that they set for us.
So you mentioned other jurisdictions that
Yeah.
are already using this.
Yeah.
In Alberta and
Yeah.
Saskatchewan. Things specific?
Edmonton, Saskatoon, and Calgary all have pedal pubs with liquor licenses that are allowed to operate with liquor on the bike.
Okay, and are you aware, those three cities that you've listed?
Yeah.
Whether they have bylaws that allow the consumption of alcohol in their parks and public spaces?
That I'm unsure of. Yeah.
Councillor Wyatt?
What do these things look like?
Do you have access to Google there?
Yeah, I don't have anything on the report. There's nothing on our agenda. Can we have a photo of this?
Yeah, just Google it there. You'll
No, I'm not
see
gonna
it.
Google it. I want something from a public service.
Okay,
There's
well,
nothing on the
we'll
agenda.
ask them when they're here to provide a picture.
Okay.
Did you bring a picture?
I have one on my phone if you want.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen them around. How do people find out about them? Like, how do they know? Like, if I had a group of 10 people, what?
So we advertise locally through Facebook, social media, stuff like that. That's how and word of mouth. I would say probably 50% of our business is word of mouth. So
Do people book it or do they just
yeah, it's
pick
all
up and
booked.
go?
It's all booked online. So everything's booked online. We don't do anything in person. So it's either booked online or over the phone. There's no cash exchange. Everything's done via credit card online. Yeah.
Nice. Well, this is good. No, I know some of the businesses are very happy about it. So-
Yeah, no, for sure. We've had some really good feedback from everyone and hope to continue that. So
Yeah, and I've seen other, I don't know if it was cancer care or some other pedal for a cause or,
yeah, we do lots of foundation donations and social donations, and we've done multiple donations in that sense.
and where do you get the vehicles from, the machines from?
So they come from the Netherlands actually, and then they're upfitted in the US, and then they're shipped up to us. So we have 3 bikes right now. So we operate out of Blue Cross Park. We have a location there that we've got leased, and then we have also an office there. So, and we employ currently about 15 staff, and all part-time. So they basically, we assign shifts on our app, and then they can apply for them and they pilot the tour. It's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and they get three stops. So,
Nice, very nice.
Quick question.
yeah.
The containers that you use, are they plastic, are they paper, are they glass?
The containers
For
Drinks.
the
for the
drink?
drinks. So we don't actually have them yet. We don't,
Oh, okay.
it's not licensed yet. There's nothing
What do you
licensed
plan?
yet, but it won't be, there'll be no glass allowed.
Okay.
It'll be plastic or cans.
Now, the restaurant would probably have to provide it, right, when they make.
Yeah, so we actually have a liquor license at our headquarters. So we do serve liquor there. And then we would send out the bikes with liquor on them. And then, you have the option to pre-purchase the amount that you want. So there'll be set amounts. There won't be availability to purchase any more. What you buy for the tour is the amount that you get. And yeah, that's basically how it would work.
Cool. Okay, Councillor Wyatt.
You've been mentioning other cities. Do you have any information on accidents occurring in those cities thus far?
Yeah, we had a report. So far, there's been minimal serious accidents. There's been
What
incidents
do you
of
define as minimal and what do you define as serious?
serious would be, serious body harm, something that would be head injury or broken limb, stuff like that. There's been people fall and scrape their knee and stuff like that. But there's been no serious accidents in any Canadian cities that
How
I'm
long
aware
have they
of.
been operating in other Canadian cities?
2018 is when Pedal Pub Calgary started.
Okay, 2018 is when Calgary started. What were the other cities?
Well, it originated in Minnesota in 2007.
Okay. And are you proposing every street in the downtown be eligible for these bikes?
The Public Works, if you go through the bylaw, they have an area listed. So essentially, well, I'll just go through
No,
the
I
bylaw.
saw the report.
Yeah, so basically that's what the Public Works is.
Basically all of
proposing.
the downtown.
Yeah, but we can't go on main streets, like we can only cross, we can't go on busy main streets. We're gonna be operating on slow areas.
Okay, so where are you located?
Blue Cross Park.
Blue Cross Park.
I haven't heard that.
So where is that?
That's
Shop Park.
Shop, right, okay.
It's been renamed to Blue Cross Park.
Oh,
And so,
oh, nice.
you're gonna operate from there and you're gonna, which streets would you be using?
So
Will
we
you
use.
will you be giving a map out to people or?
Yeah, so basically our pilots know the route. They're in operation at all times
Who's in
and
operation?
our pilots
Okay.
that we train to operate the bike. So the customers never have any control of the bike.
I see.
They're just passengers. They enjoy the tour. They go with the tour. The pilot knows how to operate the bike. They drive the bike. We're on, in the Exchange District, in the Forks, that kind of area is kind of our main go-to. And then the pilots know the routes before they go. We have little cards for them. They can use the Google Maps to see the routes. And then, yeah, they just operate within those boundaries. So, and we always make sure that they're crossing like the Public Works says, we're crossing only at intersections. We're not going on, the main streets or anything like that, main or Portage or anything like that.
All right, but this report is calling for any business operating a large quadricycle.
Yeah.
And again, there's no diagram here or definition that I can see for what administration means by large.
Well, Mr. Catman has sent you an image.
Well, that's wonderful, but it should have been in the report.
Yeah.
And could I ask you why would I grant this to you if then anybody can get one of these and start driving around the city without having a pilot? Because that's the way the report reads right now.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think it would be prudent or reasonable for anybody just to buy one of these bikes. They're about 90,000 US.
You got people out there who have money,
Yeah,
more
and
money than they know what to do with.
so I just don't see why people would decide to just buy one of these and drive them around. The max speed is 8 kilometers an hour. It wouldn't really make sense for anyone to just buy one and drive one around. They're meant for operating. You'd also need a Pedal Pub license. We have the license through the franchise for this area, so there wouldn't be any more Pedal Pub.
No, I'm not talking about your
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah,
I'm talking about the quadricycles.
yeah. And it
Anybody,
would be
based on the way the
possible.
bylaw is being written now,
Yeah.
anybody could operate a quadricycle, pilot or not.
Yeah, for sure, they could. And that's, completely up to a business to come in and do that, or if someone wanted to purchase a quadricycle and do that, it would be, the way it reads, you could do that, but you'd have to follow the laws governed by the province and the city of Winnipeg.
Right, but do the laws require a pilot?
The laws don't require a pilot, but,
That's my concern.
okay. So what would your concern be? Like, it
You
basically,
can't ask me questions, I can ask you.
Okay.
So the pilot is a policy that you guys have in place.
the pilot is essentially a trained employee that operates the bike.
Right.
The bike drives like a normal vehicle would, with a gas, brake pedal, turning signals, stoplights, everything that a regular vehicle would have.
Okay,
So it is essentially, if you have your driver's license, which all of our pilots are required to do, you can operate it.
so it sounds like you have a whole bunch of policies in place to ensure you get the right pilot or somebody who's eligible to be a pilot?
Yeah, like we have a list of, like, they need to pass our course. They need to have their serving it safe. This is all just our personal business policy. They need to have their driver's license. Those are all requirements in order to operate. And I think that would be, probably a requirement, if someone were just wanting to buy one of these and drive them.
And are there other businesses you're aware of other than your own that operates along the same similar lines and requirements?
In Manitoba or anywhere?
Well, in other cities.
Yeah, everyone, like, our business model derives from Pedal Club Calgary, which it just kind of, the franchisees all have a certain type of model that we follow.
Okay.
That's worked in previous cities, so that's kind of what we follow.
So would you support the administrative recommendation being amended so that the pilot project being recommended is specific to your franchise for now?
Okay.
And I'm asking a question, so I just want you to think about it for a second. Until we as a city kind of get a handle on this, so that we just don't have anybody else out there running around driving these quadricycles and causing problems in the downtown. Are you supportive of that?
No, we would want this to be passed immediately because.
No, you didn't hear what I said.
Okay.
I'm saying that the pilot project should go ahead.
Okay.
Amend it,
Yeah,
but that your company
yeah,
would be sole source to be the pilot project.
okay,
And I thought you might be.
yeah, that's good.
Okay, all right.
So just
For
one
now,
question,
because my concern
yeah,
is that anybody can buy one of these.
Mhm.
If they have more money, then they know what to do with
sure,
and start riding around our downtown, and they might not have all the policy requirements that your company has in place, right?
right, but there is provincial requirements.
Yes, but we're not familiar with those 100%.
Okay,
And frankly,
do you,
if an accident were to occur,
yeah,
right, it's not just the province that's gonna get sued,
right.
we will too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that, yeah, if I were to get you the provincial regulations, because I think they basically.
I don't wanna see them.
And actually,
That's up to the province.
actually, if I may, the public service recommends, adopting the provincial regulations. So the city would adopt everything that the provincial regulation has, plus these minor amendments.
Sure, does the provincial regulations require it to be a pilot?
They require that. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look.
Councillor Chambers?
Thank you for your presentation again, Brandon.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, and you kind of alluded to a gas and brake.
Right.
But none, in terms of this quadricycle, are there any elements of it that are like, say, an e-bike or have a motorized? For the gear, like if it's a really windy day, you're, all of your power is based on people power pedaling.
Right.
But you're not getting more. Is there any elements of this quadricycle that are like an e-bike or have a motor attached to it?
Yes, it is an e-assist bike, so it does have an electric motor.
Then how fast can it go?
The maximum speed is 8 kilometers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just
Yeah.
for one other question, Madam Chair. You mentioned that you would not be driving on the main roads. Is that your call or is that?
That is the provincial record.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Because the boundary I have here shows all the streets in the downtown,
Yes,
and
but
I don't see any streets being restricted in any way.
the large quadricycles only be permitted to cross multi-lane regional streets at intersections that are controlled by traffic signals or intersections that have an always stop condition.
Okay. But what about riding on them? It's silent on it?
Well, that I think, I
It
don't,
sounds like it doesn't say anything else about regional streets.
it doesn't, no.
So it's silent on it. You could drive on regional street.
But I think that, it would be beneficial for me if I could just get the provincial legislation, because basically what the city is talking about here is that they're going to adopt the entire provincial regulation, which has way more detail than what they've provided here. So I feel like they probably should have provided the provincial regulation as well as what they have here, because that's what they're proposing. So I think there's some missing information here.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. All right, thanks for your presentation. Thanks for the questions. We'll talk to the department further on this when it comes up on the agenda. So thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, okay. Now, let's see here. We've got Mr. John Wintrip to be heard with respect to an access regarding I missed Wintrip's here in person. All right. Okay.
I have a drawing if it helps.
We have a drawing on the agenda too.
Excellent. That's what I thought, but just in case. I'm not typically attendee at the Standing Policy Committee on Public Works.
Oh, nice.
So I've been involved in this project for going back to 2016. It's been rezoned and subdivided to create a C2 parcel, 3.5 acres at the northwest corner of Inkster and King Edward there. It's right on the boundary between Councillor Sharma and Councillor Santos's wards. I've been in front of the Lower Selkirk West Canadian Community Committee a couple of times. My last time was in January of 2023 for a plan approval, which I provided. And if you look on the plan approval, it shows kind of the entrance that we're proposing today, that WSP, the engineers from WSP submitted on behalf of the landowner. This is a project that, as I said, we've been working on for a number of years to bring forward to develop this vacant piece of land. It's very high profile. We are challenged though, if you look on Google Earth or iView, you can see there's a number of hydro towers along the west side along King Edward that require substantial clearance for us to maneuver around to be able to put in access. There are hydro facilities along Inkster. Currently, the development agreement requires my client to pay for money to the city of Winnipeg to make those intersections improvements. We are actually working with Hydro and contacting the city of Winnipeg back in January about changing that development agreement and putting in those improvements now instead of paying for them, but actually physically constructing them.
What improvements? Sorry.
We have to widen King Edward to add a third lane. So you'll see that in the drawing that WSP submitted, a third lane that would widen Inkster onto our property. That land's already being opened. A slip lane from King Edward onto Inkster, and then a widening of King Edward for a right turn lane, I believe a left turn lane onto Inkster. So we're going to urbanize that intersection because right now it's ditches. There's going to be, I believe, an active transportation pathway, I believe, along King Edward as well along Inkster. So we're looking to really improve that corner. A lot of that infrastructure, that would be our next step after this. Once we secure the approaches are being located, two of them along Inkster, one at the northern end of King Edward. A lot of it, again, has to do with maneuvering around hydro towers. The engineers from WSP have signed off on it for safety, for the traveling public, etc. The community committee had seen those approaches when I took them forward to the plan approval in January for the right in, right out onto Inkster. At C2 with a very high profile location, my clients are getting a lot of interest from commercial activities, including potentially a gas station and some pharmacy, some other high profile, I'd say, tenants that would like to have a high profile location, but would need access. Certainly having no access on Inkster would, I think, probably deter or probably push away some potential tenants away from that location to something else, perhaps. But with C2 zoning, all the uses that were kind of envisioned on there really need the access onto Inkster. Again, those have been designed to accommodate the widening of the road that would be our next step to do, to work with the public service to do that, and to accommodate Hydro and their needs for clearance. I believe we need clearance around some of those towers, the large ones of up to 8 meters, and plus with the closeness to the intersection, it's a little bit difficult to put access points onto the property. So WSP has done their best and come forward with what we have there today. We look
Okay.
forward to continuing to work with Councillor Sharma and Council Santos on this project. And I expect they'll be in front of their committee in the next 6 months on some other matters.
Okay, so whenever you're done, just tell me.
I'm done.
Okay, you're done. Okay, do we have any questions here? Councillor Wyatt?
Why do you need two approaches on Inkster?
Right in, right out, I believe, and for the aisleway, if you
It's
see,
like it's both. It looks like right in, right out, or both.
they're both right in, right out, and you can see how they align up with the parking
Yeah,
drive
that's your
aisles.
own your own internal system. That's your problem, not ours. And so why do you need two approaches?
Well, I think the idea, we haven't secured a gas station yet, but certainly you typically see a gas station having their own approaches in and out of a site.
Because the concern I think Public Works has is the next thing you'll ask for is a median cut.
No, not at all.
that's how it's
close
being
to
set
King
up here.
Edward.
It looks like it's being set up for a median cut because you
Yeah.
have the right in, right out.
That wouldn't be possible because I believe there's going to be Public Works can clarify. I haven't got into if there's a left turn lane going on to Inkster and the King Edward, but
Yeah, but in theory, you could probably put a median cut somewhere closer to the second one.
no, I could see down the road, there could be potentially a median cut between Groverdale and King Edward, but that's not certainly in plans for this, and we've never had discussion for it and not interested in it. I think there would be a left turn stacking lane onto King Edward that would not allow that anyways.
Then why can't you have two median cuts on King Edward instead?
Well, it's not so much on King Edward, the towers, if you look at the hydro towers, are quite large and we require, I believe, anywhere between 5 to 8 meter clearance of vehicles. So our driveway has to be far away from those towers essentially. And I believe there's gonna be a right turn slip lane onto King Edward, onto Inkster from King Edward. I believe a left turn lane onto Inkster. So usually the median cuts don't go through those turning lanes. I'm not a traffic engineer, that's more what I see as in planning.
Why do you need two on King Edward?
For access, it would be nice to have access onto King Edward.
Well,
Sorry, we only have one on King Edward at the northern end.
well, sorry, on Inkster, I meant to say. Why do you need two on Inkster?
For access onto the property,
Well, you can do that with one.
I would envision the first intersection would be more of a right in and the second one would be a right out.
No, they're both right ins and right outs.
Yeah, but if you have two intersections, they'd be designed most likely to be right in and right out.
Well, not what you,
One right in,
not what
one way.
WSP has given us here.
I think it's
Yes,
wide
yes.
enough to accommodate movement for larger vehicles and garbage trucks and fire trucks, etc.
You know, we don't, I mean, you got two large approaches in relatively close proximity to each other. And they're both right in, right outs. I don't understand why you need two.
For access onto our property, I suspect they might be designed to be right in and right outs, but I think.
Can you live with one?
Well, if that's only what the committee is granting us, then
My
Yeah.
question is that okay?
is it okay? Well,
Will
I'd have to
will
talk
be-
to my client, but
Okay.
not really, but
Well,
we'll make it work, I guess.
Well, tell us whether your client is okay with that or not.
Well, they applied for two and WSP applied for two. We took it to the community.
The administration is denying both right now.
So that would just leave you with one. How do you manage with one?
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult with one, like it. I
You
think
could
this
probably
would-
get another approach off of King Edward, but they'd have to change the design of their internal
Well,
system.
that would-
So,
it's more what tenants want and need and desire. You want a high profile location, you need to have access into it.
Do you need 5 minutes to talk to your client? Tell us whether or not you can live with one on.
Well, he made an application for two, and the last time I talked to him, they were looking for two, and
Would they
that's
like
what we
two
could
or
work.
none? Would like one or none?
Well, at this point, do you want vacant land to continue to sit vacant, or you want taxes?
That's not my, you're
Well,
not,
that's what
you're
it
not
comes
in a
down to.
position to ask questions, Mr. Winthrop. I am.
Can
you like
I ask
one-
a question?
Would you
Mr.
like
Winthrop?
one or none?
Would you like vacant land, or you want something
Okay.
to sell?
All right, well, I'm not gonna play this game.
Okay, I have a
You
question.
could ask your client and then get back to us. That's how you
Well,
supposed to say things.
his engineers submitted for two, his engineers have signed
All
on,
right.
said it
Well,
worked,
you're
and go to
now
the community
losing the
committee.
committee, Mr.
Okay.
Winthrop.
Okay, so listen, those telephone pole or hydro poles on Inkster, what's happening to those?
So we made an application to bury those, so those are gonna be buried.
Okay.
That's gone into hydro, I believe, in the last couple of weeks, and some of it has to be, I believe, gone to the city of Winnipeg. I wanna say, not traffic lights, lighting department, I think, I was told. I'm not necessarily,
So they only bury some of them and then the rest of them they'll just leave further down?
I know they have to be relocated because of the widening of the road. So some of the infrastructure does have to be buried and some of it has to be relocated.
And when's the road getting widened?
We'd like to do that now as part of our development agreement amendment. Right now, the city and the development agreement has us paying money and then the city doing the widening. We'd like to do the widening now.
Cause it widens further down and there's a sidewalk that starts out of nowhere further down.
Yeah,
right?
so the rest of that part was done, I was involved in that too, which
Right.
was the whole northwest corner, it's an industrial park for logistics when the lake went in. So they have C2 zoning along their frontage as well. Industrial in the back, all the way from Groverdale up to unimproved right of way called Cleveland Street. Then the other side of Cleveland Street actually represent that landowner too. So everybody's looking to develop their frontage along there with commercial activities. A sidewalk went in there. Some of the hydro equipment was buried. The road needs to be widened between King Edward to Groverdale. My client's prepared to amend the agreement and do that widening along his property from King Edward to the western edge of his property and do that now. Do that left turn lane into the property, onto King Edward, do the slip lane onto Inkster. So we like to do all that work as part of the construction for the site.
And is that the Gurdwara behind it or what is that other
So
building?
it's our church.
Oh, it's a church.
Certain. And then everything else to the north of that is industrial lands, the lake, and then I believe the school division owns a parcel of land. And then we get up into a street, I think it's called, I can't remember the name.
So you understand why the city doesn't want to do access points on Inkster, right? Like, it's like access points. I know I had many requests for access points on Keniston by the Mercedes dealership and all of that. And that, had we done that, it would have been just another big mess, right? So congestion, but okay. So Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, I don't know if this is more of a question for the traffic engineers, but it says that the speed limit on Inkster Boulevard is 70 kilometers an hour. It also talks about it in the report that it's a high traffic volume area and high speeds. Would there be any thought and you got residential in one area, you also have a baseball diamond that is directly across the street from the subject property or playground field. Is there any thought about reducing the speed limit in this area? Is that part of the considerations as well?
I think you're going to see Inkster become more and more urban, just like if you went back 20, 30 years ago to Portage Avenue or McPhillips Streets or parts of Pembina Highway. They were high-speed corridors that gradually became urban over time with more driveways, more intersections, and more urban standard roadway. And the speed limits reduced. We're right at a light with King Edward Street there. So unless they're running through a green light, we're just past that intersection. So typically the light would be red and perhaps people pulling into and out of our site. But I suspect that over time, as the development to the north and west of us develop, it'll become a more urban look that you would see down a Pembina Highway or Regent Avenue or Regent Avenue West or Portage Avenue, where you start having more development instead of vacant land. The speed limit was high along vacant lands and back corridors. Now you're going to have commercial frontage along the entire north side of Inkster from King Edward all the way out to past Cleveland Street. It's all C2 zoning.
So, and looking at that intersection, I'm trying to see if there is crossing lights. I mean, there's Nicole Stanley Knowles School right there.
Part of the development agreement was to pay money into upgrading the lights. Again, part of the intersection improvements my clients would like to do now as part of their development is to pay for those crossing lights, improve the lights. Like actually upgrade it now, not just pay to have it upgraded later on by the city, but pay to upgrade all and make those urban standards now. that's our next step after this. If we're successful with this, we'll make an application for a development agreement amendment to actually construct all those works.
Because right on King Edward, it is a 30 kilometer zone for a school zone. So I would think that people in the northeast side, families in the northeast side would be attending this school here in terms of catchments. So upgrading of that whole intersection would be required to accommodate the school kids that are attending the school, that particular school. So.
Yeah, our understanding, there's a school plan to the north of us as well. King Edward is becoming an urban, more urban. It was a 2-lane asphalt ditch road it still is partially. It's going to become an urban standard roadway. We're looking to do that work now.
Okay, Counselor Wyatt, you have a question?
The developer? Who's your client?
Well, that's not really relevant.
Well, no, I'd like to know.
The landowner listed on the land title. I am terrible with names. I will butcher all names. I've said that many
Well, this
times.
says B and B, whoever.
Yeah,
B is.
Pete Thomas.
Who?
I'm terrible with pronouncing names.
Spell it.
But it's not really relevant, is it?
No,
Why
it is. We
relevant?
got WSP's report, we got John's name. I'd like to know who the client is.
Well, I don't think it's relevant.
Well, I think it is.
Barbanit Bazara. I'm terrible with names.
Well, you can email us.
I will gladly email the names. I know they've been in contact and we've met with the ward counselors many times on this project.
No, I'd like to get the names of the property owners.
They're on the land title.
Yeah, and we have it on access on our computer. You can look it up. Counselor Wyatt, it's there.
Well, no, I'd like it from his client, his consultant.
Okay,
And are you prepared to, if you have one approach out on Inkster, are you prepared to build proper acceleration, de-acceleration lanes into and out of that approach?
Yeah, we'd like to construct all of it. Well, we'd like to, if the project is viable and we can move
That's all I want to
forward,
know.
but we'd like
The
to
answer is
construct
yes.
all that.
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right. Any other questions, Counselor Chambers?
No.
Okay, I just want to clarify something here. So you're saying that if there was one access point that you would construct also acceleration and deceleration lanes to that access point?
Yeah, we're required to pay right now under the development agreement for improvements in King Edward and improvements in Inkster. We would like to construct those. We are making an application for a development agreement amendment. We've contacted Public Works going back to January on this. We dealt with Hydro and all their clearances. We've made an application to Hydro to bury those utilities. We'd like to start constructing that. So we'll come forward with a development agreement amendment that has to go to the Lord Selkirk West Coast Community Committee. I believe up at council. That's our intention to do that once we have an understanding that we can get access into the property.
Off Inkster.
Yeah, we need access off Inkster. It's high profile. We're
Right,
not
but the
getting access
question
off
is,
Inkster.
for me, just so I understand this, so you're willing, if you had one access point, to do an acceleration, deceleration lane on Inkster to your turn-in spot?
We'll build that third lane all along our frontage of our property is
Right.
what we're proposing to City of Winnipeg. Council has to agree to that.
Okay, got it, okay. Okay, I'm clear on that. Okay, perfect. Any other questions from the committee? Nope, all right.
And that's those names. Thank you.
Pardon me?
Nope, I am good about it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Winthrop. Next, we have Ian Walker, Chair of Safe Speeds Winnipeg, to be heard to multiple items here, 9, 10, and 19. All right, if the young gentlemen want to sit beside you there, they can come up and sit down and see how change is made.
Summer break.
Yes,
Yes.
had a very busy spring.
All right, and congratulations,
Congratulations.
school
Thank
trustee Ian Walker.
Congratulations.
Way to go.
An exciting spring.
Maybe we'll see you around this table one day.
Maybe you can drag me out of the classroom. All right, so I'm not sure which order these are in, but
Okay.
the first thing I was gonna talk about was Hosted Road.
Yes,
I've been corresponding with Emily Walker. She's been rallying her neighbors. It sounds like they have a significant amount of traffic coming down their street.
Sorry,
I think
who was that?
Emily Walker.
I
think
thought you
she's
said
made-
MLA.
Oh, yeah, no,
Oh, sorry.
Emily, yeah, and I think she's made a submission on behalf of her
Yep.
community there, so.
Yep.
Safe Speeds Winnipeg is in support of lowering the speed limit there. We know Richmond West is part of the pilot project, which I believe is wrapping up this year. They're the 40-kilometer-an-hour community. We're keen to see the results from that area and work on lowering the speed limit to 30 across the entire community. Now that I'm a school trustee and I'm being a grade 1-2 teacher, I'm keen to see kids walking and biking to school. It's good for their mental health. My son Max here, he just finished up going to Provencher School in St. Boniface, and one of his teachers wanted to run a bike bus through the community, so I agreed to help out with that. And we at the peak of our bike bus, we were taking 60 participants from Nordale School to Provencher School, which was a really neat program. It was just something we did on Fridays to get more kids walking and biking, showing parents the safe routes to school and whatnot, and just so the community loved to see us out. It was a really positive experience.
Could be inspiring.
Yeah, it's fun. And that could lead me to Aldgate and Twickenham. South St. Vital. That's in your ward. My sister and brother-in-law own a house just that backs onto that park. So I spend a lot of time there with the kids playing in the playground, and I've observed Aldgate. I know Aldgate had some traffic calming humps put on it a few years ago, but it's a busy street, and there's lots of families coming from the south side. So I think that would be a really nice improvement. I also have a friend out there running a bike bus to St. Germain School, and she's running her bike bus through that path, that network from Aldgate to St. Germain. And then the last item I wanted to speak to was Niagara Road from the bridge at the Seine to what was the name? It was that intersection that turns onto Fermor there.
Royal Salinger.
Royal Salinger, thank you. I think that's a great addition to the network. I guess my only question is, what do folks do when they get to Royal Salinger? The speed limit goes back up to 50. So, you could lower the speed limit on Royal Salinger to 30 so that people can get up to Pebble Beach. But, the connection between that road and the greenway along Abinogi-Mikana is still a bit of a gap. So I'd like to see perhaps some more traffic calming or lower speed limits along Pebble Beach. That's a good connection into South Winnipeg. And I know I'm not registered for it, but the snow clearing
Oh, I
report.
was gonna ask you. How
I
come you're not
I
saying
missed it.
anything?
I've been catching up with life. But if you folks are okay with it, I was just going to.
Go ahead.
I was at the meeting we had there in 2022, and I went out and spoke with Melissa after. And I think the city did a much better job of clearing quickly this year. I've been out a year-round pedestrian and cyclist for the last 11 years, and it was a lot better. I agree with Melissa's comment about slush removal. On days when we get temperatures that are approaching zero, we just got out the machines and pushed some of the slush out of the way. While it would fix things completely, you do have like you mentioned, the trough with water collecting in it. But the slush, especially on routes like Archibald, when you're connecting to Northeast Winnipeg. I live in Norwood and I teach in East Elmwood, and that Archibald connection can be just brutal because cars are splashing water up over the side of it. And the slush can sometimes be like 4 or 5 inches deep. I'm on a fat bike, so I can manage it. But anybody that's walking or a mobility device or a wheelchair must just have a heck of a time making it through there. But I think overall, I've seen improvements. So I will commend improvements, and I know we'll keep working to work on it. So yeah, that's
All right. Well,
that is
thank you
all.
very much, Mr. Walker. Thank you for all your advocacy and work that you do
very well.
over and above being here today.
Yeah.
Councillor Wyatt.
Your name is apropos, Walker. Anyway, so I congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, I became educated in terms of speeds and design or controlling speed through design when I sat as chair as the mayor's environmental advisory committee and worked with Andrew Swanson. And Councillor Lukes and I moved a motion. I'm not sure if you might not be aware of this. In the fall, calling for us to develop a policy around new subdivisions, whereby when they're constructed, that they would be to a standard that the design of the streets would be done in such a way to ensure one drives at 30.
Yeah.
rather than having to try to regulate it through policing, which is often problematic. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's the best practice. So you're stating what best practice is, which is to design streets in residential areas to 30 kilometers an hour. I guess my question is, I don't know, I know I'm not allowed to ask questions.
You can, you're not like one of those other guys. Go ahead.
My question is when, you have your engineers going out to design streets.
Let's say it's a hypothetical question.
Yeah,
Sure.
but in the past, if they're designing a street in a new subdivision that has a 50 kilometer an hour speed limit, they'll design it for 60, right? So that it's safer. So how do we work around doing that? How do we design for a 30 kilometer an hour speed when the speed limit's still 50?
Yeah, and just.
Chicken egg, right?
And so I'll put this in because I have asked it in a question for,
Yeah.
like, are you aware kind of thing?
Mhm.
Like one of the greatest challenges that I know I'm facing in terms of new developments, new subdivisions, is the policy's not ready yet. Yet we have subdivisions coming forward. And so then I go to developers in these hearings. I'm not gonna say who or what or when, because I don't want to get in trouble there. But I will say that there's a real pushback, well, why can't you put in traffic tables every so many meters? Why can't you put bump outs or bump ins every so many meters? And we're kind of right now, I feel fighting a battle, are you aware, with like one arm tied behind my back, right? Yeah, it's frustrating, especially when, we get all these, the public service wants to get there, but they don't have the policy yet. So any thoughts, would you encourage any counselor who's hearing hearings to push in that direction?
Absolutely. Anything that makes a neighborhood more walkable or bikeable is a good thing. We're all going to need to drive. My wife and kids and I, we don't own a car, but we frequently drive Peg City cars. So we know that there's the need for it, but at the same time, I want to be able to send my 12-year-old here and soon my 9-year-old to walk to school and know that they're going to arrive safely.
I have one last question. Where did you get your hair done? Can I get it done like that?
Where did you get your hair
Yeah.
I
don't have the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, we're off to folk fest.
Oh, very good. Well, have fun, guys.
Okay, Councillor
Your
Chambers
dad
has
has
a
dragged
question.
you here. It's very well done.
Councillor Chambers has a question. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Ian, and congratulations again. I know that you'll be a very worthy school trustee in the area that you're representing. With respect to the snow clearing, which we were allowed to speak on, and again, we've added this enhancement in a year where we had an El Nino effect or El Nino. It's kind of, we didn't have the snow, and hopefully we won't have the snow going forward, but in reality, a typical Winnipeg winter does produce a lot more snow than we've seen this year. So hopefully, we'll be able to see the same, the same positive effect, if not even better, when we do have that traditional snowfall. And it's not only the snowfall, it's the living on the prairies, the drifting of snow as well. That does, provide some challenges, especially for those with accessibility challenges. So hopefully we'll be able to consistently get that right.
I forgot to add, I'm really excited to hear about the live updates.
Yes.
I was at the Winter Cycling Congress in February in Edmonton, and I was hearing about cities that were up, their machines had GPS built into them, so you can see the live update of where they've been, and that will probably save your 311 department a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Because, a user could go and see, oh, hey, look at all this drifting.
Exactly.
Has it been plowed yet or not?
Yeah.
Oh, they haven't gotten to it, so, I'm not gonna contact 311 because I know that the city's going to get to it. So I think that's a really.
That's for accessibility too, right?
Absolutely.
On top of
Predictability.
that, we've discussed partnerships, especially with the downtown biz. And it's something that maybe we could have discussions with other area business to ensure. I know that Joe Cornelson was here earlier about the West End biz. And again, those kind of partnerships are what we need. It takes a village. We recognize that individuals and businesses pay taxes, but we have to look at being partners, good corporate citizens, to help out during those periods of time where again, the city gets overwhelmed sometimes in terms of all of the services that it provides. And having those partners in place does alleviate some of that stress.
I think it's great. Anytime you can partner with somebody else, that's a good thing, right? We're all stronger when we cooperate.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, now
Folk Fest.
Thanks so much.
enjoy your day.
Have a great summer. Thanks for having us.
Okay, now we have our last delegation, Mr. Grant. Is he online? There he is. All right, Mr. Grant, welcome, and let's hear what you have to say today.
Thank you. And my apologies to council from last week. MTS decided, somebody made a mistake at the head office. They decided to end my internet service a few minutes before the council meeting. And I was not able to resolve that for a day. Anyway, back to the topics. Pedal cabs, topic 5. I note that the committee has asked a lot of very good questions when those advocates were present. It's good to see this interest by the committee. Much of today's agenda is filled with topics to reduce the perception of traffic dangers. Safety is big. Does the city have a report that analyzes, or even the province have a report that analyzes the increase in risk that these vehicles may bring to our streets? Until such a report is published, prudence says go no further down this road. Getting customers to and from pubs is an essential part of most road safety programs. I drive for Operation Red Nose every year in season. Decades ago, when my son was on the leadership team at the U of M Engineering Society, they dealt with this issue by painting an old school bus in engineering colors and logo and using it to take students to and from games and events. The same idea. If you have one safe driver and a safe mode of transport, it's way better than people walking or driving. Quaint cabs are in use in other cities, horse-drawn and so on. They seem to please tourists, although they can clog and slow traffic on roads. Since downtown travel here involves few slopes and mostly short trips, pedal power can be quieter and more efficient than powered cabs. And I will agree with the councillor who was questioning why we didn't have more details on what staff were talking about when they prepared this agenda item, because now we all know a lot more about these things than we did yesterday. If these EV quads are limited to those roads which already have very low average traffic speeds, the harm done to traffic flow can be minimized. If they're allowed on our busiest roads in peak times, they will lead to traffic delay and even injury. It is good to hear that these folks plan to stay on quiet roads. Topic 6. I walk across Provencher at this point fairly often. Like everyone else, I can use the current crossing on the east side. Saving a few seconds does not justify spending this amount of money. Travel to downtown will be slower if this is done, as all that north to west traffic will have to wait for those in the new crosswalk. If more congestion is job 1, then spend this money. Topic 10. Folks advocating speed changes like this have touted big increases in safety. It was good to hear questions on bikeable neighborhoods. Biggest in asking Ian about that stuff. The biggest problem with spaghetti roads, as I call them, is that you ride 5 blocks to go 1 block as the crow flies. Ms. Luke's neighborhood, part of the city, is famous for that. Our oldest, and that encourages people having to take a powered vehicle, a car. Whereas if it was an older neighborhood where the streets are laid out like graph paper, you can go directly where you want to go without extra miles. Our oldest streets are best for cycling, and we must revert to those if we want more biking. This has been done elsewhere with zero reduction in the speed reductions have been done elsewhere with zero reduction in injury rates. Why is it being done here? I remind you, long ago, cars were limited to about 10 kilometers an hour in cities. Why do we not just go down to 10 as our posted limit? If we're worried about interactions between cars and bikes, just limit the bikes to 10, cars to 10. Are you aware that when limits in Europe were dropped to 30 kilometers an hour, which is quite a few years now, injury rates actually went up? When authorities studied it, they discovered that a few of those on foot, not many, who once waited for cars, chose not to wait because the cars can always stop, except they don't. Yes? What's up? I heard comment. Anyway.
That was me coughing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought it was an objection. Anyway, so the authorities discovered that some people who once waited for cars, because in Winnipeg, almost everybody waits for a car that's coming. If the cars are all creeping along, some people will just step out. More people. Anyway, moving on to topic 11, parking versus crashes. It's good to see staff being asked to research this matter. This work should include the number of crashes involving icy surfaces. Will priority one salting, sanding, plowing, etc. Actually help? How many of these crashes are due purely to inattention and inexperience? How many are, in the opinion of MPI, due to bad sightlines created by parked vehicles? If the staff investigate and look at the MPI crash data in that area, you may discover justification for your salting experience or for parking restrictions, because MPI should have analyzed each crash as to the factors involved. So it's an excellent idea. I strongly support you asking staff to do this. Armed with this info, you will be better able to make a good recommendation on the parking. If you fail to specify this level of detail in your request, do not expect the report to be of value in your future decisions, because your report from your staff should include all the causal factors that MPI had in their reports. Those should be transcribed and collated. This request for research reminds many that City Hall has been collecting millions of dollars from residents while blatantly violating provincial law. Simply asking staff to write reports every year based on MPI data would make that city profit center awful again. While I support this request, one must ask, why is everyone afraid to publish the data set required by the PE law? Topic 13. The section connects current 60 kilometer sections of road. It's consistent. Go for it. Topic 14. I believe I speak for all road users, including transit riders, who get bounced around more than most of us, when I support a report on pothole repair. Since we cannot repair all our crumbling roads at once, there will be patching for many years to come. Getting this done on time is important. Knowing more about our progress will enable you and council to make better funding decisions. Topic 20, gravel roads. It's incorrect to say that a delivery cannot be made on a lumpy road. Travel on such a road can be safe if driving slow enough and avoiding the largest holes. This applies to school bus and Amazon drivers, no matter how much they complain. It sounds as if you have a set of naturally made organic traffic calming measures. Be thankful. These roads are enforcing their own speed limits and keeping everyone safe. Post 15-kilometer orange signs as people enter these roads, just so they have a fair warning, and leave it as, you have to fill the holes. Obviously, you don't have broken cars, but corrugated roads, washboard, whatever, people can live with that. And if it means people living there have a lumpy road and nobody goes more than 10 kilometers down the road, maybe everybody will be happy. And on topic 21, please note my previous comment on the matter. City Hall runs on rules and guidelines. There should be a guideline to assist politicians and engineers to make decisions objectively. There are such rules for four-way stop signs. They're in use. Please ask Public Works staff to develop a similar guide for adding lanes and signal functions intended to reduce occasional congestion. If enough person hours of time can be saved per month, a capital expenditure of X dollars can be justified. When initial designs do not handle high traffic flows, there will be pressure to add lanes and signal functions. This pressure should result in an objective response, not an emotional one. 22, traffic safety requires that everyone know where the lines are. So I'm in support of this. When they wear away, even on our busiest roads, they must be replaced. This is a basic fact of operating any city. If the work is done by a contractor, it still must be done. This is more essential when the roads are paved wrong. The crack at the edge of the bituminous layer, the TBO, or of the concrete pour can tell users where the edge of the lane is. That's what we run on all winter. After the lines are torn away with sand, we know where the edge of the concrete is, and we use that as our lane marker. When the paving contractor gets this wrong, drivers must have those dashed lines every day, or a driver may follow the misleading edge and force the car next to them into a curb. I expect that your staff has a list of those dangerously misleading lane edges, as they do tend to get painted first every year. Hopefully, your paving rules now remind contractors how to pave correctly. And thank you for your time.
Okay, some good points there, Mr. Grant. Do we have any comments, questions, Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, your point with respect to report 20 gravel roads
Mhm.
and the maintenance, I mean, I don't agree with at all. I mean, we've got to do a better job of maintaining those roads. I hear 100% full stop.
I agree they should be maintained better. And what I'm suggesting is that when there's a little bit of corduroy, which happens when the guy with plow, because he's leveling the stones, when they plow, when the blade tends to skip, then you get a bump every foot. And that sort of thing is, a mistake made by the operator. But the idea that no plow go down there for the year, that's bad. So I agree. They need to be maintained. Holes need to be filled.
There are additional issues at play with respect to businesses that are unpermitted, unlicensed and using heavy equipment that are chewing on those roads and not paying anything towards the maintenance.
I agree, and the overloads too, like spring when the gravel is soft, there are issues that still need your attention, and one of them is enforcement of load limits, and that's something that I don't think we're even doing much of that on our busiest roads, much less some of those southern ones, which I'm familiar with. I have friends down there, but you're right that those need more attention. And it was more irony to suggest that those are traffic calming, that they really are not intended that way. Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Councillor Wyatt doesn't have any questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for your input on all these items. As we have no more delegations, thank you for participating. And now we'll get into, do we want like a 5-minute break?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 minutes.
So 5 minutes, we got a lot to cover and we've got more meetings today. So go. Okay, we're back to the Public Works Committee. We're starting on the agenda now. And we have Winnipeg Transit Plus annual report that's been provided with incredible infographics. This is a receive as information report. Before the department gets into it at all, are there any questions or do you just want to receive it as
I'll move it as information to be received.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And now we've got the semi-annual policy advisory committee report, which again was an
I'll
excellent
move that we
report.
receive this as information as well, Madam Chair.
All right, okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
You as well.
Item number 3 is the annual report on snow clearing and ice control.
I like the report. I'll move it.
Okay, well, I just had one question for Mr. Cantor, if you don't mind. So he's coming up here. That's great. Okay.
I also have a demonstration of the new website.
Oh, yes, the demonstration of the new website. Oh my gosh, it's really good too. Yeah, so I would like to see that, but maybe
Gotta
what we
sing
could
it.
do.
Kevin is still, your
Name is Patrick.
aren't you with Transit?
Not anymore.
Oh,
I'm here for the reason.
sorry?
For the reason.
Oh, okay.
They're a dual.
Okay, okay, so we have the snow and ice report. I thought it was a great report. I did have a couple questions. Does anyone have questions on this report?
Well, and again, just to reiterate the point that I've been making throughout the delegations, I mean, last year was an anomaly in terms of the lack of snow that we received or spread out during the season to the point where if we do have a traditional Winnipeg winter with snowfall average accumulations, are we going to be able to meet the standards that we set out in the snow clearing?
Nope, nope.
Seems it. And it's
I agree
the
with
goal and
nature.
for us to meet the policy for sure. Okay, so from our last year's ice and snow clearing budget, where did we land in terms of savings or going over budget?
We didn't. We were over.
We didn't have any savings.
Okay.
I would refer to, I think there's an appendix in the report.
that.
Appendix A?
Yes. And again, we are budgeted to a very low snow year. And if you can see the report itself, it had a little bit below average, but it wasn't a very low year for snow. We had 110 centimeters versus an average of 120, so we were really.
Just the amount of
we were
events are
average, yeah. We just had mild temperatures. We felt like the low season, but it wasn't. It was precipitation.
So in the many years that we've been doing snow clearing, and I'm looking at that line that says surplus deficit, we've never had a surplus. The lowest we've come is 1.2 in terms of the deficit.
Correct. On appendix A there, the table.
So
And
Melissa,
you go back to the, sorry, Chair, the snow clearing reserve from 2009. I don't believe we put any funds in it from the date it was conceived.
So, Madam Chair, I do have a question. In light of the fact that we are averaging on the low side when it comes to the actual budget numbers, that they are both the actuals and the actuals adjusted for inflation are all above our budgeted line. You know, would it not make sense for us to, as a council, this is one thing I think Winnipeggers understand, is the snow issue in relation to taxes. I know there's always a debate, right, about taxes, but I think the average Winnipegger would say, okay, I want my snow clearing. I want my roads snow removed timely. If that's the council policy, council should fund it. Therefore, why couldn't we say we should be raising taxes accordingly and money will go into a reserve? We can still budget the same, but put the extra revenues from a tax increase into a reserve and draw upon it when we need it, which by flips of it, we're always going to need something based on what we budgeted in the past. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, before you answer, and just to see clarification, you talk about it's increasing because of inflation, but is it not also increasing because of the level, like for our sidewalks, the adjustment of plowing some of our sidewalks as P1s, whereas they are P2s or P3s? So is it the addition of all of those services that increased the budget?
No, those were increased separately last year.
Okay.
And funded accordingly.
Yeah. So, no, not all. So I guess I'm curious about that. What would be, like, if you were to look at this bubble, right, I call it like the amount that's constantly over here, and you took an average of that, right? If that's all you can do, and say, okay, what's the average of all these years over? And let's say it's
3% property tax.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, the average is 12. Like, if you look at the 10-year average from 2014 to 2023 on that table,
Yeah,
the adopted budget was 34.2
okay,
on the average, and the actual expenditure was 47.
47,
Yeah.
okay. So that's where you're getting, well, hold on, 34 versus 47.
Yeah. Both
So
12.
that's,
Yeah.
okay, so that's 13
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
So that's not 3, that's 2.
No, 2 point,
That's actually less than, no, our average property tax increase now is 7.5.
7.5. Okay, I was
Yeah,
using the
7.5 times 2, so that's actually less than a 2% property tax increase.
Well, again, you're looking at adjusted for inflation, so the average becomes 54 million, not 47, right? So that inflation adjustment would tell us that we're roughly 20 million over.
So when you say inflation, what do you mean by that, Jim? Like, I mean, I always just go by what's the actual, not.
Consumer price index on all items for Winnipeg.
No, I know what CPI is.
Mhm.
No, but I'm just wondering,
That's the number that is adjusted though, also.
well, this is the okay, so the actual. What you're actually spending is the thing that we gotta look for, right? Not the actual.
Yeah, and last
Adjusted
year
for
we were
inflation.
4.2 million over in the in
In the actual.
a low average year.
Right, so I'm not. Because if we start adjusting for inflation, we can do that with everything,
Yeah,
right?
No.
So, I mean, I'm not,
You're looking at a
to
property
me, the blue
tax
line is
increase,
not
right?
the real line, it's the green line, that's the real line. You follow me, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking at 1.8% property tax increase, say that's gonna go into the reserve. And, you know, we're gonna do it this year and see what happens. We gotta draw upon it again, we just bump it up, so then at least then we have a reserve, so maybe 1 year. We only have to draw maybe 8 million out of the 13 million. And you still got 5 there, so then you gotta only have to adjust by 1.1% or something, the tax increase the following year. It would float based on the size of the reserve being maintained, based on, I'm assuming you want a kind of like a, I don't know how many year average, 10-year average cycle. It'd be moving up, right?
Well, there is an increase in the multi-year budget up to 52 million in 2027, which is a gradual increase. And that's what was
right. But right now, okay, but you know, the comments I read from the chair of finance is at the beginning of this last month. You know, we're $40 million over budget, and he's saying a larger part of it is this situation. And so how do we deal with that? And I just think we just be really upfront with folks and say, look, you want the policy? You want us to clean the sidewalk? You want to clean the road? You want us to clean the lanes? Everybody calls us on these things, right? This is what it takes. And I don't see how this takes away from the mayor's platform or anything. Things change, right? And I think it's very explainable. That's just my thought on that here. I mean, for what it's worth, I'm gonna vote for the report, but I just think it's something that the budget working group, whoever that is, and the chair of finance really should be seriously considering and having the courage just to say, look, this is what we need to do. And this is something that people understand. Folks understand we're Snow City, right? Okay, yeah, I don't like paying taxes, but I do want my road cleared, right? And I don't want the city to pass a budget that's not a real budget, because now 40 million in the hole. I've seen in the past where we were maybe 11, 12, 13 short by June, but not 40. 40 is totally, like that to me is unprecedented. And how we're gonna climb out of that one? I don't know. So anyway.
Councillor Chambers?
So a quick response, thank you for that comment, Councillor White. I mean, where does it end? I mean, people want their trees pruned on a more regular cycle. People want the grass and boulevards cut in our parks and playground spaces. So do we create reserves for that as well? So
No.
Again, where does it end?
No, there's a big difference here, I would argue, Madam Chair. The difference is what you're talking about is changing the policy to a higher standard. I'm saying just to fund our existing policy.
Yeah, but we did that with trees, with the tree pruning cycle to
Well,
reduce
then-
the cycle of how many
Okay,
years.
well, then you fund it accordingly. My argument is that unlike trees, we know we have so many trees and we know how many we gotta trim. We don't know what kind of snow we're gonna get. We don't know what kind of season we're gonna get. It's a completely apples to oranges, I would argue. And the fact of the matter is, this is our policy. If we have the policy, we should fund the policy. If we don't want to raise taxes to fund the policy or to find the money without cutting everything else, like libraries and everything, then let's change the policy. Let's dumb down snow clearing in the city. Let's see how that goes out there, right? That's really the choice in my mind. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I don't know about this one. So.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question regarding what Melissa was saying. Are we not plowing on the weekends or?
No, because it doesn't snow on weekends. I'm just kidding.
We're plowing.
Right.
Well,
We're plowing on the policy no matter what day it is.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
right. So, okay, so that's a concern that is addressed, that we're plowing on weekends, okay. I know you're going to be looking into what other cities do, but I thought we could just make a little motion and move it along to come back with some kind of report on what other cities are doing regarding the snow and ice, because I know that one's a real, well, challenge. I don't know how we're going to solve that actually, but you know,
What do you
it
mean?
is.
What issue are you talking about?
Okay, so freeze, thaw, melt, ice, freeze, thaw, melt, ice, sand,
Yeah.
snow, freeze, thaw, melt, ice. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Cantor has said that he's going to look into other cities, what they're doing, and
Are we talking about again getting down a bare pavement again?
No, we're not, no,
Okay, I'm good.
no.
In terms of the salt though, I mean, do we have any salt and sand to adequately apply abrasive materials to overcome the issues of ice? I'm of the understanding that there are some of our yards where the salt and snow is kept undercover is damaged and as a result, much more difficult to access. And that long-term is that this will become a bigger issue in terms of accessing those materials to apply, that abrasive properties to our streets once they're frozen.
Well, through the chair, the domes are removed, two of the domes, but the facility is still there. We have access to salt and sand. It's just not ideal from a salt management perspective.
But does it increase the cost in terms of application?
No, we just, there's some difficulties and not difficulties, but a little bit more work accessing it in the yard itself. But it's a pile, it could be covered with snow, but the material is still accessible. It's not going to change our ice control program. It's just the management of the salt uncovered is not ideal from an environmental perspective, which we're working towards replacing those domes.
Does it impact the machinery that's used to apply it in terms of
it shouldn't be
lumps or anything like that?
It shouldn't be. We had some concerns with that, which we resolved, but it shouldn't be impacted.
Why is there okay, the East District has it, but
They all have domes.
oh, okay.
The covers on two of the domes at the north at Pacific and at Waverly, the coverall
Done?
system is done.
So are we gonna replace it?
That's,
Yeah.
At this point, we removed it from safety concerns. We just removed the dome itself, the cover, and we're looking into consultant assignments to redesign and replace those.
Yeah, because the issue there from my experience when we did the East Park City Commons is the issue is more environmental. That the salt then gets into the subsoil and contamination is then an issue, and then there's a future liability for the city. That's what happens when we don't have these things that are domes. And in
Well,
terms of
even the
Park
St.
City-
Norbert Yards has a dome on it and it leaks, so. when
Yeah,
it
but
kills-
it's better that like for years and years, they used to salt on Plessy Road
Mhm.
without dome. It resulted in a $6 million when they did phase 3 environmental, $6 million contamination cost for the entire yard. So that's the long-term liability when you don't have domes, right?
Yeah, well, and
That's the issue.
Yeah, back then, through the chair to Councillor Wyatt, the material was stored on permeable surfaces.
Yeah,
It's all part of that
That was all-
stewardship. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so it's not only on top, it's underneath.
you got
And-
your
and-
ball cement.
Yeah, and the focus is that you channel any of this drainage that the chair is referring to into wash water containment designs, right? That's your focus.
Is there any way we can get away from salt? I know we've talked about it forever. Just because of the damage it does our roads and our bridges more.
Talked about beet juice, we talked about
No, yeah.
products.
Yeah. There's no new material coming up on it.
We tested a couple years ago a material that didn't work out operationally. We tried it on mistaken Henderson, compared it to salt. It looked comparable for but it had clumps and we had issues using it and then we came back to.
So far science has not arrived at a environmentally.
We are
friendly
aware,
product.
there's always new materials coming in and we will test if something is presented to us, which was once. But there was some issues with it.
What do the Scandinavians use? What do you know?
I'll be surprised if they're not using salt.
Yeah.
So maybe like I sent this to you guys, if this is okay with you, like maybe we can just add a little motion on to this report. And do you want to read the motion out, Mr. Clerk?
Certainly, so we'll be adding a new recommendation 3 and renumbering the remaining recommendation accordingly. And the new recommendation will read that the Winnipeg Public Service be instructed to conduct a cross-jurisdictional scan of other major Canadian cities and report back in 90 days to this committee with best practices in clearing snow and ice on pedestrian and active transportation corridors during winter months.
Well, it's not even really snow and ice. It's the, how should we word that? But it's,
Slush.
I think it's sidewalk plowing
Services.
services, yeah.
Will you accept a friendly amendment to your amendment?
well, depends. What is it?
Well, it's not just the best practices. I'm curious about what other cities are doing. I'd like to know how other cities are funding their snow.
Okay, well, right now, no,
Because
for this one, right now, we want to look at the freeze thaw cycle and how other cities deal with the freeze thaw cycle.
Oh, I see.
Is that a better word?
Specifically on sidewalks, yes.
Specifically on
I see.
sidewalks.
I'm curious to see if there's other funding mechanisms other cities use for, other than property tax, because if there is, I'd like to know
Right.
what they
Well,
are.
that's a good separate independent motion. That would be
Yeah, yeah.
great.
So,
So let's finish this motion here.
in terms of other cities' sidewalk clearing policy, there are other cities that just, they don't clear the sidewalks.
Correct.
But I guess we're talking public right of ways, like in downtown areas and corridors where, again, there's gotta be some municipal responsibility for clearing those sidewalks.
There's a wide range in level of service throughout the cities and how they do, but the biggest difference from us, from Winnipeg and other cities is really the weather patterns.
Maybe we don't-
Some have very mild weather and they're dealing with other challenges than us. The swings that we experienced last winter is, and I don't know if it's a cycle of the weather or what, but it's really odd to see that you have 2 weeks of spring in the middle of winter. And other cities either experience that all the time and deal with that and have and use salt on the sidewalks heavily and have a different environment, and other cities that don't get that at all. I mean, what we had all the years with just sub-zero temperatures and don't get those swings. So it was really odd and but again, we can look at their practices, but there are differences in weather that really dictate that.
Well, I mean, differences in weather, there's also differences in elevation in terms of the sloping, like
Yes.
you've got Montreal that is on an
Quebec City.
angle,
Yeah.
Quebec City,
Yeah.
things like that. So I mean, it's important to take that into context as well.
Yeah, that's what you have to explain
Well-
in the story. A lot of it to do is with how communities are developed in other centers. And you know, you look at, you know, people talk about Saskatchewan. Well, yeah, there's no sidewalks to plow in general because their roadway widths are wider, right? So the people walk on the road and they do some different things there. They bring the material into the center of that roadway and if required, depending on its volume, they'll haul it away or not, allow it to melt and take it off the curb. You know, that's something we wouldn't be capable of doing with our lane widths here. And again, when you talk about snow clearing in other centers, there's bylaw upon bylaw throughout North America related to businesses and homeowners that are required to maintain their frontage. So,
How do you make somebody from Saskatchewan feel at home?
well, I'm from there, counselor.
And
So.
you know the button. Anyway,
Okay,
so
so, you know, it was a big issue last year, this freeze thaw cycle. Let's see what they can come back with and put it all in a report. So they'll say we're doing a crummy job. They understand all these variables and what other cities comparable.
It'll take more than 90 days to just
Yeah.
get other
Sure.
jurisdictions
Sure.
communication because
We have summer in the middle as well and
Sure.
lots of colleagues.
but if
It
they're
could
gonna
be
do that
anytime
cross
after
jurisdictional scan on that, I mean,
Sure.
they're doing it, I'll move that other motion so we can do this efficiently together. Under new business, I guess, Madam Chair, is that all right? Yeah, but the other matter, just a quick question. Now, when it comes to regional roads outside of Winnipeg, province of Manitoba provides funding on the regional roads for municipalities to look after them, to build, and I believe to maintain. What about the snow clearing? Who does that? Is it the municipality or is it the province with their trucks coming through on Highway 17?
On the PTHs and the PRs, the provincial trunk highways and the provincial roads, it's for the most part, especially the provincial trunk highways,
Yeah.
it's a province.
So the province comes through a town or a city.
Yeah.
Like on Highway 17, let's say through Brandon. Okay, runs north-south.
10, you mean?
Is it 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, 10.
Yeah.
So who would be salting and sanding and clearing that? The province or the city of Brandon?
Unless there's a municipal agreement, the province would take care of PTH 10, but a street like, say, there might be areas of Brandon like Richmond Avenue that could be considered a provincial trunk access.
Right.
That the city would maintain. They would all have agreements on what roadways were maintained and why. Generally, a municipality of a larger nature might take on more responsibilities internally to keep that consistency of service going. Whereas a small, you know, even the town of Stonewall, for example, you know, one of the roadways is the town would take care of that, even though it might be a provincial road.
And would they get credit for that on their grant or anything, you know?
Well, the grants that have been applied to the provincial roadways for maintenance have generally been granular roadways. So there's gravel road maintenance agreements throughout the province with RMs, and that would include winter services as well.
Yeah, there was a period of time there where the province handed a ton of roads over to the municipalities at one point.
Oh, it's been a number of years, yes, Counselor.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, like Steinbach, for example, you know, number 12 coming through there, right? Like, who's doing the snow clearing there?
For example, in Steinbach on Main Street, what is called Main Street, I believe the town takes care of that portion.
But number 12, we're all.
But number 12.
So this is great, but we gotta keep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the motion that I want to add on is that the Winnipeg Public Service be instructed to conduct a cross-jurisdictional scan of other major cities with comparable climates to Winnipeg and report back in
120 for sure.
120 days to Public Works with best practices regarding sidewalk clearing during freeze thaw cycles.
Well, we're submitting it. It's a month and a half of delay.
If we're gonna talk to, no, like when you talk to your jurisdictional partners and you're trying to get the right information, you gotta make sure that they're able to spend that time. We have a conference at the end of September with a lot of that TAC membership. And so there's an opportunity there as well as a snow conference. So that's why I was trying to get it past that time frame in case we needed to work out.
Keep in mind, the 90 days does not include the parole day.
Councillor is correct. So if 120, assuming council approves this would be due back on the November 20th meeting.
You should be good. Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we can get through to.
Okay, now, Mr. Cantor has a presentation on this, new, snow operations for tracking. So do you want to we're just a little pressed for time here. Do you want to go fast?
Yes, I'll go through it very quickly. So we revamped the snow operation map that will be launched before the next snow season. It's a redesigned platform, offers an intuitive, user-friendly experience, enabling users to efficiently navigate snow clearing progress, current and upcoming parking bans. So I'll note the key enhancements, and I'll do a show and tell for that. So the first one is we have an improved address lookup tool that provides the users with detailed information about the address. So if we go here, the best way is really to click in your address. And so when you go to your street, you can get information about your street, but also if you have a back lane and you have a sidewalk, you'll get information about their plowing progress at the same time. If you don't have obviously a lane or a sidewalk, you won't get that. But you can get all that information in one click for your address. That's going to be very helpful and probably the best way to use the webpage. And the next one is a list view of all available maps. Functions optimized to screen readers, so people are visually impaired. They can use the list function and they can get all this information as a list as well. All the maps, if we go exit from this address search, you can see the city itself. When you zoom out, you can see the progress of plowing over a map. All of it is segment-based color-coded maps, display information on sidewalks, pathways, streets, and back lanes. So you can zoom in, you can click on a segment, and you can see the status of the plowing and percentages. So that will help, but on top of that, there is the snow clearing status provides information based on users as well. So if you're a pedestrian, you can click a pedestrian, you can see the map of all the sidewalks and pathways based on, and there's a legend here to see what you're reading. You can also click and see only the ones that have been completed or the ones that are in progress, obviously, you can check that. If you're a cyclist, you can click on the cyclist option and see the streets and pathways. When I mention streets are related to active transportation and pathways and cycle path. And then we have motorists, obviously it's all the streets. So this is basically it. The other thing is parking bans. When you switch to parking bans, you can see all the current and upcoming parking bans in the city at that point. You can also then get information when you click an address, but you can see overall in the city what is on and what is coming. So the red for this case is there's a parking ban in place, the amber is upcoming, and all the gray ones are, there's no parking ban in place. So if you're looking for a parking spot, you can use that very efficiently and see that.
Does it say the timing of the parking ban on the site?
Yeah, when you click on the segment, you can get the information about that parking ban and when. So everything is clickable and you get a box with additional information for that.
So it does have the priority, street priority listed on there as well?
When you click on the segment,
Like,
you'll get back.
I saw it on the,
First one.
it says priority.
Yeah, you get a priority 3, zone R, so you get the priority when you click on it.
Okay, so click on the amber color, please. Same information.
Yeah, same feature. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
So that provides that. And once we get to the state that we have live information for sidewalks coming from GPS devices, we'll be adding another set of data, which is a last plowed feature that shows a circle data of when that sidewalk was plowed last time. But that will come only when we have the AVL functionality.
So do you think you'll have to have a couple rounds of snows to get it up and running?
At least few, because we'll have to test the data that comes from the contractors as well.
Right.
And have it compared between our foreman reporting, so
Right.
we'll have to,
Coordinate and work together,
we'll have to run through them,
right?
see that everything works correctly.
And then
before we-
what's your goal? Is to like every 10 minutes update the website?
Essentially, it's live.
Right.
It will be, there'll probably be some processes of quality assurance behind the scenes, so
Sure.
5-10 minutes.
Sure.
That is the goal for only for sidewalks and paths.
In terms of garbage pickup, there's no way of overlaying or providing additional data in terms of your street is scheduled to be plowed and it's also garbage day.
Well, with garbage day, we come and pull those, we can overlay it, we can add that information as well, we can look into that.
Okay.
But we address it by, first of all, we are reducing that conflicts to minimum by scheduling it based on that. But the ones that the conflict is inevitable, we come in and pull those cards back to just avoid damaging them.
The next version of this, will we be able to get cameras on the equipment so we can actually watch them come down the street?
We have budget for 300 cameras.
Why the area red? I'm assuming it has something to do with the Department of National Defense. Why is there one area that stands out as red in the whole city? It's out by the airport. It's not the airport, but it's
Go
the
back to
only
the
one.
map with the little.
Yeah, it was the only one that was red. Everything else is like blue, green, yellow throughout the city.
We're talking about parking, the parking
No,
ban.
no, no.
Go back to your first map there, Michael.
That one with
The big one where you kind of have all blocks, you know, all the
Zone
blocks.
maps.
Oh, when you you're looking at this one, right? The zones with the colors.
Yeah, why is that one
Well,
red?
this, the red is the one that shows not complete within scheduled shift. This is a scenario that we're showing.
sample.
It's a sample of how a residential plow would look like.
Oh,
The
I
whole
see.
city is red, the whole city is divided into zones, the plowing zones, and these are the different options. So either we're not plowing yet, upcoming, in progress, complete, or
Oh,
not.
I see. Okay, that was why.
That's why it's red.
Sort of like a.
So in other words, that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is not to see no red.
It's right on. Yeah, I get you. Okay.
Yeah, so
And,
this,
and my second point to mention, can you share this software with Water and Waste so that they can get all their pipes set underground on the city website? We're the only city in
Okay, that's
North
different
America
topic.
that doesn't have that. It's
I
a
know.
big secret.
I know.
Where the
it's
pipes
a
are?
Big secret. It's a
Anyway,
secret.
it would be lovely if you could do that.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't have any
Okay,
other
so,
questions.
so we don't have any other questions. We're kind of on a timeline here. We have no more questions, I guess.
I'll move the
But I made the
motion plus the
motion, right,
amendment.
plus the amendment, okay. And I just want to thank Mr. Cantor very much.
Yes,
There's a lot more innovation here that's coming forward. And that's great, right? And it's not, I guess doing this app and everything is not a cost and that's it's time.
Yeah, the one thing I wanna know, like, you're doing it on a laptop here. Is this made easy on the phone to you? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It is a smartphone friendly, yes.
Okay, it is, like,
Yeah, all the new websites now on webpages that were built.
yeah, okay, yeah, sometimes it's on, okay.
and then we'll punt this to doing it in July, on a regular basis, right? That was one of the.
Are you putting a press release on this one?
On the map?
On this one, yeah.
No, at some point, yes, before the
At some
winter,
point.
yes, not
When,
right now.
when winter comes, not,
Yeah, yeah.
not now.
They don't care about it.
It'll be long forgotten before you get to winter.
That will be part of our
People actually will read it.
Okay, so that's good. Then
Yeah, we're asking to move it to July. and it
Yes.
just gives us a bit.
That's perfect. Okay, that's number 3. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 4 is the Louise Bridge rehabilitation. Now, you want to delay it again.
I have a rationale.
I know, but you know what? We delayed it for 2 months. I spoke to your assistant. Your assistant didn't want to organize the meetings because it was in Schreier's ward. He wanted Schreier to organize the meetings. Well, I can't babysit people to organize meetings. We delayed it for 2
No,
months.
I couldn't organize the meeting that I'm requesting. This is the problem that I'm sharing. The meeting that I like to see is where we have the consultants. I don't know who the consultants are. Not just the staff, our city staff, but the consultants to explain and take us through the entire multi-million-dollar Eastern Corridor study so that we understand the implications, because I'm reading here a very high-level summary of what's involved if we just simply concur with the current bridge rehabilitation. But I don't know other options that could have been presented. I don't want to hear it today. I want to hear it in a seminar where I hear from the consultants. Whether options that could have maybe presented, that in the event that we do elect to just do the current bridge rehabilitation, which is what's before us now, are there other measures that can be taken in terms of the other bridges to make them more efficient? And I'm citing the Provencher, Queen Elizabeth, Harry Lazarenko, Disraeli. And that's the challenge. So that's what I'd like to see, man. I don't see what the rush is because frankly.
Yeah, so let's ask them.
Yeah.
So what happens if we lay this over to September? Sometime between now and September, there's some meeting that Councillor Wyatt gets his information on.
Well, and every member of council is
So-
invited.
Just the Eastern Corridor study was a preliminary design for a rapid transit corridor. That is being implemented as council would approve through the transportation master plan and funding and budgets. Right now, it's a where the Louise Bridge would be between priority 2 and priority 4, so it's probably 25 years away. Meanwhile, we have a Louise Bridge that needs to be either rehabilitated or replaced within the next 5 years, so by 2030. There's a gap of $100 to $140 million between a rehab and a replacement. And so council just needs to make a decision on whether they're going to move forward with a rehab in the short term that will be there for 30 years or
Right,
replace it now.
right.
And I am not against necessarily that. My concern is that I like to see with this matter before us, this motion, options that are gonna be part of the rehabilitation, namely, how can we get traffic on and off the Disraeli better? Because that's gonna be the first bridge that's gonna be the most impacted. Followed after that, probably by Harry Lazarenko, followed after that by Provencher in that order. So there are design features that we could enhance, you know, the egress onto the bridge right now is a single lane. Maybe we could look at other options, traffic light there. You know, I wanna know, because you're gonna be, I'm assuming, shutting down the Louise as well for or at least one lane for a significant amount of time to do this work. And I'd like to know what other steps are gonna be taken tied to the rehabilitation process or what the department's contemplating, because this is gonna be a nightmare. And having said that, Madam Chair, like, and with the greatest amount of respect to the folks who live St. James Way, including the mayor, I would love 8 lanes of traffic coming directly into the downtown without rivers to cross, without railways to worry about. But I don't have that. We don't have that on the east side. We got rivers and railways we're constantly dealing with. And this is a major issue. And I think we have to show that due diligence as part of it, because
Okay, so what is it that you wanna do? Like,
I
like
need
to have
to,
a rehab or a rehab?
no, I'm saying if we're gonna go this route,
Right,
okay,
right.
I wanna know what other steps are gonna be taken to mitigate the traffic impacts. And we did this, by the way. And what I'm asking for is not new. We did this extensively prior to approving Disraeli. We knew going into that project, what other bridges, how we were gonna accommodate, what were the lanes gonna be changed, what was gonna be made one way for a while, whatever. We knew all of that prior to giving the green light to this, and I just wanna make sure that's in place.
So as part of the preliminary design for the rehab, we would look at the traffic staging plan and the detours that would go around it. When the bridge cannot be rehabilitated open, it's gotta be fully closed. It would be fully closed for a year and a half or so.
Sorry,
So-
what?
Once it's designed, we probably start in early winter, late winter, go through the summer type of thing.
2030, no, so it took to be constructed no later than 2030.
Yeah, so we would be constructing in 29 and 30. That's kind of our window that we need to do it. So as part of that, we would look at the traffic management. We would look at improvements around there, but the bridge can't be widened. Like it's a truss bridge. It cannot.
No, I hear you, Brad. So is it possible then that for my sake, we could add in a clause saying that, delete clause 1, but add a new clause saying that prior to any planning, design, rehabilitation, Louise, the administration shall present via the standing committee, all, what would you call it? Traffic management plans, including temporary investments or permanent investments to assist with other bridge scenarios for access. Is that something we can just add here? I know you're gonna do it, but let me put something in writing that knows that for a future, because I might not be here right after 2020. So I want to make sure this is done right.
So we will do a traffic management plan. Like we could always present that as information at some point in the future, but it would just like there's limited things we can do with this bridge.
No, I'm not talking.
Plus, we close this bridge every year. We just closed it for.
No, I know, and it was a disaster.
Well,
for 2 weeks.
I don't think it was a disaster.
Well, it was if you lived on the east side of the city, it was a disaster from the commuters. I mean, they were, and then we closed Taché at the same time, and then we did more work on Provencher all at the same time as Louise's closed. Whoa, that was really coordinated. Now, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that's what feeding my argument here, that I want to know that the steps are in place, and that we might have to spend a bit of money on Disraeli, for example, to improve the access onto it. We might have to buy some properties out to get 2 lanes coming onto Disraeli instead of 1. Because right now, that was the one that was backed up. It was backed all the way up to Midwinter and all the way down to Narren and out. And it was a disaster. And you're going to do it for a year and a half, 2 years. I want to know that we have that due diligence done. That is my concern, Madam Chair. I just need a clause saying something like that. That's all.
Oh, what, in response?
If we're gonna do it anyway.
Like,
Well, we'll look at temporary traffic management measures during construction as well as other possible improvements on Talbot in Midwinter. I'm not sure exactly. We have talked about some with the future Louise Bridge, but
Yeah, you're gonna be going into the parks there anyway. I see what the future of
the future one, yeah, we need that. We need to take part of the park, yes.
Yeah.
That's the only way to make it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the ideal scenario. We can do something there to get better access on it. It really is the one that's gonna really take most of it. Though it did it, I mean, it was amazing how just those 2 weeks it backed up everything on Hesper all the way to Henderson. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, this certainly there's always pain when we're doing construction.
And maybe part of it is, maybe it's not just road stuff, Madam Chair, maybe it's transit gets involved, maybe we increase the amount of road. Maybe we get more people out of their vehicles, maybe that's part of it as well, right, to commute them downtown. In light of the fact we're shutting down, basically, the real 2 major bridges that, our side is Provencher and Louise, like, Disraeli is a secondary one. So that's North Kildonan. But I'm talking about kind of, I could draw you the map of the area. So basically, it's all the areas that we're approving new subdivisions in, my word. So, and, hope to God they don't work downtown. Anyway,
Okay, what do you have there, Mr. Prinsloo?
So I have the Winnipeg Public Service report back in X amount of days with temporary traffic plans associated with the rehabilitation of the Louise Bridge.
I don't wanna put
No,
days,
can't be
just
days.
days, no,
That-
this is way years.
We have to put out the consulting assignment for this
Yeah.
work, and as part of that work, we would look at traffic management.
As part of the.
A year prior, like, let's say 2 years prior, that's enough time? Cause you're starting in 2029, 2 years prior would be 2027,
Yeah,
is that reasonable?
we can report back on what the traffic management plan is ahead of a tender.
So, which would, read it again if you want.
So the Public Service report back to the Standing Policy Committee on Public Works with temporary traffic plans associated with the rehabilitation of the Louise Bridge, 2 years prior to the works to be undertaken.
About 1 year prior. Yeah, that would make more sense.
So that will be a new recommendation of the council.
And could we just slightly modify to say public works and transit? Cause transit is probably the solution here potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, the term public service covers.
Yeah, I just wanted it understood that, both in terms of, maybe added the wording, both in terms of roads and transit services. Something like
Traffic
that.
and transit plans.
And transit plans, yeah. Okay. Cause the transit has to be alternated anyway, so maybe we can come up with other scenarios there too.
All right.
Yeah, and that report back. The only other part of it missing is that, and I hope it's understood, and I'm assuming that's our policy now anyway, and that is a public consultation part of that stuff.
Well,
Would we have public consultation around that?
we'd probably have public information around that.
Okay,
You only consult if you're gonna change.
I hear you, I hear you. So would there be public open houses or something like that? That's more like
That probably not. I think it would be public information on the routes.
and that'd be, all right. So this is a report back to the standing committee?
Yes.
Can we do 18 months, Brad? Just to give us some.
Ahead of the construction.
In terms of catching something, yeah. The year is,
Yeah, sometime in 2026, we'd probably be okay
Okay.
doing that, but
so 18 months
yeah.
prior. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
okay, all right.
Mr. Counselor Strier's not here, so I'm like,
We've all had opportunities.
I'm winged.
Okay, all right, so that's the motion that Councillor Wyatt is adjusting to this, and we're agreeing with the Public Services recommendation, so all in favor? Carried.
Just a quick question before we move on.
Yep.
So in terms of going with the current bridge rehabilitation, this is not throwaway. Because the way that it looks right now, the ultimate configuration, which is the new bridge, has us decommissioning the old bridge. So what we're spending now, just so it's understood, is in a sense throwaway.
It's a 30-year plan. Like the bridge will provide a minimum of 30 years service. And like the trigger to do the new bridge will be the rapid transit corridor.
I hear you, but
So-
a 30-year plan,
After 30 years,
And then
could
they
we
throw it away.
keep it as a pedestrian bridge or something? Possibly, but we need to reassess that condition at that time.
but I'm assuming the window that I'm looking at right now, which is Louise Bridge options, which is your chart, that shows a 35% over congestion, is today's picture, not a picture 15 years from
So
now.
what we're saying right now is the bridge is at capacity today, but it's gonna provide adequate service till about 2050, so the first 20 years.
So the first 20 years, it will operate at a 35% over capacity?
So what are you saying, 35%?
I'm looking at your Eastern Corridor study online.
That comes from the Eastern Corridor Study Public Engagement Materials from 2022.
Yeah,
The Eastern Corridor Study found the traffic volumes on the Louise Bridge are not growing or potentially slightly shrinking as there becomes more destinations for people on the east side of the river to stay on the east side of the river for shopping, for example. So the traffic volume is just not growing.
Yeah. I think that's great.
So, and with the pandemic, there was a.
Not accessing downtown.
Could be a combination of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
the new downtown. Okay.
Okay. All right. So now we're moving along to the next report, and the next report is the
Thank you, gentlemen.
pedal buses.
But, oh, yeah,
Okay. So
I'll move it.
large quadricycles. You're gonna move it? You don't have questions or anything?
Well, the problem is the one that's regulating this. I wish them best.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 6 is creation of a pedestrian control crossing infrastructure on the west side of the intersection of Taché and Provencher Boulevard. And the report said to receive it as information. Okay, so again, here we go. We're removing, we're saying, for information, but here, there's an action.
But I
So,
agreed with Dave Brandt. He made a good point.
so like with this, it's the $46,000 action, but we're receiving it as information. Are we gonna try and tune up that recommendation that we don't like?
Well, the statement that you're making here is that
It exists.
it is needed and is funded and it's coming out of local or the streets program. So you're receiving it as information. If you chose to oppose that, you could make a motion saying, no, we don't want to, we don't accept
I'm just
it.
making a point from what average residents when they look at something.
But no, it's, I know what you're,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, verbal report on sidewalk or AT path along Black Diamond Boulevard.
Yes, thank you. This is a report that is regularly reappearing at these meetings.
Right.
And I think we can put this one to rest. The sidewalks in this area are being installed. There's now a segment of sidewalk on Black Diamond Boulevard as of May 2024. With other sidewalks also in the construction in the area to create a continuous network. Public Works will work with transit to ensure there are connections to bus stops for future bus service in 2025 and beyond.
I'll move that we received, this came out, Madam Chair, just
I remember that.
quickly, we heard from the industry in this area. It came to our standing committee. There was a number of people about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
So I'm glad to hear that. I want to thank the department for the work on this and I'm hoping that that'll address their concerns. I'll move that.
Good work.
Yeah,
Okay.
good work. Thank you.
Number 8, in speed limit increase.
I'll move receive as info on that.
Oh, sorry, all in
And then
favor?
not to appear again as well.
Okay, carried.
Yep.
Okay, speed limit increase on Reindeers Drive, Transcona Ward.
This was laid over because I questioned the matter of the 170 meters. I just wanted to say that the speed limit be increased to 60K from Lodge to Painwest, period. Rather than this 170 meter thing, because there's a little bit of a area there that the gendarmes can sit.
We do note in the report and to the chair to respond to that line of questioning. We understand where that's coming from, and we did comment on that in the report to say why we pushed it down a little bit. This is because if it's right at the intersection, then people are looking at both the intersection as they move through it and may not catch the fact that the speed limit has changed. And so that may also be a source of confusion. If we put it, we want to move it away from the bus stop, so buses wouldn't block the sign and create an issue for observation of it. And because you've got the road widening out as you're approaching the intersection, if you have the speed limit signs at the edge, people driving through the center would, be further away and smaller to them.
My question is this, David, does that mean that, let's say you're heading westbound on Reindeers, does that mean 170 meters prior to Lajimodi, you're gonna see a 50-kilometer speed limit sign?
You see a sign there to start it. You would also see signs as you go through as well. Like we don't just put one sign at the front and not a sign for people who have turned from Lajimodi onto Reindeers westbound.
I'll move this, but we might have to revisit it, what people say. I don't know. I mean, is this common? This is a national.
It's common.
Yes, okay. I'll move it, Madam Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Now we've got another one on speed limits on Aqua Road between St. River and Royal Salinger, so.
This is a motion or?
This is a report of two clean up things we're doing with speed limits. We are changing one speed limit to 30 and we are changing one speed limit to 70. As there was a paperwork issue where the speed limit was incorrect and it wasn't matching up with what the signage said. That's why the 70 speed limit, the 30 speed limit is because it's a green.
On Aqua Road, that's fantastic.
What Ian Walker was talking about this morning.
No.
I'll
Okay.
move, I'm happy to move it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, number 10, if you want to take the chair, Councillor Chambers.
Sure.
This one has been, I think the department has just gone over and above and done an incredible job of studying, looking for any kind of solution for Hosted Road. And, residents had the option to put a sidewalk in, but that would mean removal of about 20 trees. They opted not. So we're going to try the 30K on this cut through. So I'd like to move the motion that we proceed with this.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay.
Chair Bell?
Number 11, parking restrictions on boroughs. You'll recall that we laid this
Yes.
over last time, right? So.
And I recall that the director had made some comments with regards to this area. And whether or not it's gonna sort out the problem that they were experiencing. In terms of snow removal.
The snow clearing, right? There was a request from.
Yeah, the P1 versus P2 and whether that would affect the snow removal of the snow berms that fall during the winter time. The P1 and P2 does not impact snow removal, it only impacts sanding. So we understand where this is going, where they're coming from. I think the direction was to enhance the amount of snow removal that's taking place so that the berms don't pile up and it doesn't restrict motorists' the vision as you're traveling through the intersections.
Then you're going to install cameras to monitor.
It was asked, the idea was brought up to install cameras. I believe that having spoken with staff, they're saying it's going to be quite challenging to do this. They understand the intent of it. They're going to work on this, but it may not be possible to put a camera at every single intersection and monitor them continuously throughout the entire winter.
Right.
But if so directed, we can look at the issue, capture some data on it. Other concern with this is that we're trying to look for getting a response in a rapid turnaround, capture the information this winter, report on it back in the spring. That is going to be challenging, and as well collecting the MPI data. Right now, there's a several year lag between getting the data. So even if we do it this winter, we won't get the information from MPI possibly 2 years from now. So we can study this. It may be.
Sure.
You probably won't get the pinnacle of traffic studies out of this.
Sure. But you can do what they want regarding the snow and ice.
Elevate it to a P1
Yeah,
between Main Street and McPhillips.
right.
That would require council approval and an amendment to the snow and ice control policy.
Would it lead to efficacy?
Well, with what Mr. Patman's referring to, it would increase the sanding at those intersections, which the probability of the infractions is high possibly because of the sanding and salting. I'd say it's probably more the salting, because if you move this to a P1, that salt application focus as well. And when we're talking about the skid resistance issue at these intersections coming across a vehicle that's trying to move out, that tells me that there's some kind of skid resistance issue in the driving lanes. The salting that would be applied would address that as a P1 service.
So,
Yeah, I just don't understand on one intersection.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about multiple, right? Not
from Main to
They said this corridor, this segment has more incidents at the locations along it.
So is there any data that would support doing this, from MPI in terms of the locations of car accidents or?
Not to the level of detail we're receiving right now. We'd have to get it, that'd be further studies. And
It was noted that the incidents were higher in the winter time, which would like
Yeah.
the winter ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're recommending that this be received as information?
well, it was laid over to discuss with the counselors.
The
Your
the original
report says-
ask was that we would take away parking to try and resolve the
Yeah.
issue with the incidents. That did not go over well with the community committee, and they came up with an alternative solution. They said, before you take away the parking, do something about the winter conditions and observe that and see if that makes a difference. If the problem goes away by just doing the winter conditions, then perhaps we don't have to take away the parking and the public will be that much happier.
And that's the
No,
motion that came
yeah.
from.
Well,
community.
I mean, the issue they're talking about here is an issue that we can make a case for anywhere.
Well, that's it, right?
Well,
It's
and
just,
this is
this
where,
area
where
has
does
a
it
lot
end?
of people parking very close to the intersection.
Where does it end? No, I'm gonna
It's
move
not-
the
it's
matter
not
be
the only
received
place
as
like-
information.
So who's the
Why-
area councillor for? Is this
Counselor Edie. And Counselor both. Santos.
Counselor Santos.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it. You could make a case for this anywhere,
I
right?
mean, people are parking too close to intersections and they go, I mean, there has to be an element of common sense, right? Like,
Drive to the conditions.
well, and walk to the conditions. It's not just drive, right? So, you know, you just don't step out in front of a parked car into a moving road, right? This is common sense stuff.
But you raise an interesting point in the sense of walk to conditions. Not everybody's able to walk.
No, I'm talking about, this is coming up because people are thinking that they're walking out onto the road, car is parked right here and they don't see an oncoming car. That's enforcement too.
I don't know why they don't want the signs installed so that people,
Yeah.
They don't
Well,
want to, I
you're-
think they don't want to.
You're
lose the
you're
amount of
removing
parking.
33 parking spaces and it's limited in that. area.
not by installing signs, just saying, what is it, 3 meters to the stop, to the intersection?
No,
You
there's
don't need the sign because that's the highway traffic. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
don't-
the other option is that you could not concur in the report and receive it as information.
That's
That
what I'm-
means that nothing happens.
That's what I'm moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
That's what
Councilor
I'm
White's
leaving.
motion.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Aye.
Mark me in opposition.
Councilor Chambers is in opposition. Okay. All right. Well, I do agree with the point that this could be, we talked about this last time, it could be any
Well,
road in the city.
Yeah, we all have them. When I tell folks, if you walk, you drive, park properly, then, right, be good neighbors.
Item number 12, access to proposed commercial development along the north side of Inkster Boulevard. This is the one that Mr. Winthrop presented earlier today.
You know, Jim, I'm sympathetic to doing something here on like, but I guess my concern, because I look down the street. Okay, I look down the street here on the north side of Inkster, closer to Brookside Boulevard, and I see approaches. Some of them have more than one. But to me, look at this property owner bought this site eyes wide open. And I don't like the idea of that first approach on Inkster close to the intersection, but the one furthest to the west. But not at that design, like there has to be, you know, if you're going 70 there, there has to be proper egress, you know, to come in and off. There has to be a different design brought back before we approve this, is what I'm suggesting. If we do something here.
Would you recommend keeping it back to the public service
Sure.
to review it with one access on?
Yeah, with
With
as
proper
far as possible from
acceleration.
the intersection with proper acceleration, deceleration lane, which sounds like they're prepared to pay for it, sure. Okay, I'll move that.
Well, right now, Mr. Winthrop had identified the like the two entrances. So there's the one closest to King Edward, the most easterly.
Yeah,
And then there was the second.
Westerly.
Go back to
and that one's, the one closer to the intersection is problematic, right? Because then you have people slowing down, that's where you're getting conflicts with people coming off King Edward. And it's heading west on
In
Inkster.
having spoken with staff in the public service and transportation, if we had to go with the access on Inkster, the point of view was that the westerly access
Sure.
would
Right.
be more palatable with some modifications, so.
I guess
I
the
think
problem we
we'll
have
open
is.
to the discussion.
Yeah, and maybe that the city shouldn't have granted, but there was some pretty big construction sites further to the west that I see that we've given access to along there. And they did also have cross fees that they could have said, well, that's the only one they're going on, but.
So they're also, it was also mentioned this morning that they would address upgrades to that intersection as well.
Right.
Through the development agreement, okay.
That should have been in the servicing agreement already. I would have thought.
Okay, so what's your motion?
My motion is that the public service, how much time do you need, Dave?
Let's say within 150 days.
Yeah, 130-day public service, bring back a new design for consideration that provides one access point off of onto
west.
Inkster, at the most westerly part of the property, whether that is shall include acceleration and deceleration lane.
Okay,
And that for our committee's consideration, if it can be brought back sooner, all the power to you.
all in favor?
Aye,
Carries. Okay,
13.
now, these are all motions that have come from committees.
Yes.
So-
Real, I guess. This one here, I want to refer to the public service for consideration. All these are to be referred to public service,
Okay.
almost all.
Okay, so number 13, we're referring it to the public service.
Yeah,
Okay, all in favor?
Do you want to give a report back, timeframe or?
how much time?
Let's say 150 days for that one. I believe we're already working on some speed limits in the area, so they may be faster.
But I don't want the truck rolled back.
No, I understand the truck route is what.
All right, okay. All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
I'll refer this one to the administration. I was,
Right, and I just asked Mr. Cantor, now you're talking about the status and city current timelines. Okay, I asked him for an update too, like at council, remember I promised
Cindy.
people an
I sent you
update?
that chart he sent us, which was really interesting.
Yeah,
That
Well,
was 2 council meetings ago.
could Mr. Cantor provide an update to the chair to present at council? To close us off?
yeah.
Present at council.
Well, I know, I
It's
think I want him
with
to
the
give you a
QP
written
question.
update that I can share with all of
And then you
council.
could share with all of you.
Yeah,
Like a written update.
yes, a written update. If he can
That's
do that,
fine.
that would be great in the next few days,
Okay.
okay?
That'd be
So,
lovely, but I like to see data.
well, he'll put that in.
You gotta put something on a
Files.
piece of paper, yeah.
I'd like to see
Okay, so we'll receive this
numbers.
motion as information.
Time
So we
frame.
want to make that,
Yes.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Item number 15, update on Transcona traffic.
This is a request to get information back to the standing committee. Apparently it had to come here. I don't know what.
No,
Can't you just phone them and ask?
if
them?
I may with this one, we have no objection to providing the data on the timeframe for getting these things in.
Okay.
But reporting on them every single meeting is gonna be onerous because unlike the report, you may have heard about the Finn Bank intersection.
That's where I got this idea
Yeah,
from.
that-
Wadi has a permanent item on our committee. doing
That one we're
And he's
reporting.
coming anyway.
We're reporting on that one regularly because it's convoluted. We're dealing with a
They're all
site.
they're all
The site is challenging. These ones, because they're a city project, we're gonna say it's gonna get done as part of this season. It goes onto
Okay.
the work plan and then we
I just-
have the season. We can report back regularly, but not every single meeting.
No, Dave, like, I don't even wanna have to move this.
Right.
To me, if you could tell me, like, basically, last fall it was communicated that it was this season. Just people are asking.
Yeah,
So I just need to know, like when this season, can I give them an idea on 1, 2, 3,
we've got general
4,
information.
5
We can I can provide your office with a more detailed update on
on
it.
the timing?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll move that it be received information on the basis that, thank you very much, Dave.
we'll
Thank
keep
you.
the office updated on these.
Yeah, just send me an email on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just, is it next month, is it, but the understanding was that this is happening this year, so I just want to know roughly when, so.
Yeah, so you can report to social media
He-
public. Yeah.
People are asking, cause I
Okay.
put a newsletter out, thank you.
All right, so you want it as information, all in favor? Carried.
Basic getting.
Leslie's
Yep.
Road left turn signals.
And same with this, just an update,
Yeah.
on that one,
We're gonna request up to 150 days. I believe we have something in the works already. on that.
Okay.
We're trying to,
Okay.
how many, 150?
yeah,
All
Well,
in
with
favor?
the break-in or 90 days or whatever. Can we do one, somebody? Do we, because technically the summer doesn't
let's try
count,
120. Yeah.
summer doesn't count.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Update on the status of the completion of Marianne Sorelli Trail.
So what was happening here was this was held up because Sumka owned it and then he sold it in the province. Now the province has it, so we should be clear to go in here and put this path in. I just wondering what's going on with this. Cause the path is not done, is the status of that. What are the issues related to this right now?
Yeah, I think we can get you an update about, we'll work 120 days on that one too. I believe we have the information, just needs to be put into something formal.
Okay. And the funding for that was developer funded. The issue was water side, I'm pretty sure, has to front end it as per the servicing agreement. And then the recovery's back when the Sumka lands are subdivided. Now that recovery probably not be there now because it's gonna be a school site. But nonetheless, it's funded.
Yes.
It's just a question. The issue with the
We've been
land.
talking to real estate about this one.
Yes, it's a real estate related issue, yeah. Yeah, okay, so can we do it quicker, just cause it's a real estate thing, or?
I'll say within 120 days, but if we get on a sooner agenda, I'll work with.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay,
So moved.
okay, so we got the date on that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay.
And then
now-
this one here, can we just approve this? Can we just approve this?
This has to work between, we have to talk to the parking authority about it, so,
Why?
because they're involved in anything to do with parking on the streets.
Really?
Yes,
There's no meters here. No meters here.
no, but it's an issue to do with parking.
So can I just change the wording of the motion to refer? I would like to make it so it's just so it's clear, be directed to report back on a parking ban during rush hours on Transco Boulevard. I want to make it clear, not a restriction, a parking ban
Oh.
during rush hours. And we made this 4-lane roadway. We only allowed 2 lanes on Devonshire to the north on the basis we have 4-lane here.
And traffic's growing in the
And
area.
traffic's
there's a lot of
growing and you've got
development,
people
yes.
parking during rush hour and
Yeah.
people are calling like, why did you build a 4-lane road if you can't drive
It's
on it?
really more like a two
Right.
Like Inkster Boulevard.
Mhm.
And I wanna, and I know this is gonna be one where I'm gonna get the calls from the residents, why
Now
did you
they've
take
got
away
the
parking?
expectation.
Well, you know what? This was built for this purpose.
So I'm suggesting we control parking.
Can't we just do it? Can't we tell?
No, we can't just do it, but we'll try to expedite it. We'll say within 50 days on this.
But that's not expedited.
No, but if we can get them, as I said with the other ones, if I get it done sooner, we'll get it done
Don't
sooner.
you say 60 and let's just get her done?
60 days, like 60 days and 30 days, is almost, it has to be done instantaneously.
90.
Yeah.
You get the summer. That's actually 120. 90 is 120.
I'll keep you informed.
Okay,
before
all right.
that one.
120,
Okay.
but sooner, yeah, okay. There'll be a political hit on that one, but anyway, I'll move it. Yeah.
The question?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
There you go, now your stuff.
Okay,
Carry on.
Okay,
traffic,
next item.
traffic study of Aldgate and Wickingham. As mentioned earlier by Mr. Walker, there is a park that's developed there. It's the last, I think, what's the name of that street? The last, the guy that worked for Bullico. Bogan's Run is the last developable street that backs onto that park. It's heavily used. People are crossing it all the time, increased traffic. Just need to look at a rapid
Yeah,
flashing beacon.
right solution
potentially.
for pedestrians.
Right solution, correct.
Yeah, we're gonna probably need to do some data collection on this one, and we wanna collect the data when there's people active.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 180 days, but if we can get it done before that, we will.
Up to 180 days?
Up to 180 days.
Thank you.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, now gravel road maintenance, south of the perimeter. I have something to say about this too, so
Okay.
what do you think?
So this has, well, this year in particular has been particularly bad. Part of the issue now is the interchange, project at St. Mary's and the south perimeter. The province built berms along the south perimeter highway. The residents on Newport, on Charlotte and Brentwood have experienced flooding in their backyards. And, part of it was the ditching, part of it is the drainage. But it's just the amount of calls that I've received, the amount of investment area residents have made in terms of, renting pumps to address the drainage issues that they're experiencing this year. Yes, we've had a lot of rain this May and June, but we've had a lot of snow in previous years where the drainage issues have not been a problem. Continual blading of Forbes, Fraser, Hall Boulevard, and now Melnick Road have become just a daily thing. Again, we get it that it's been raining a lot, but there's been no gravel added based on residents' account added to the road to crown the road so that it drains properly, so that rain, drain, and sustain the roads kind of event is not happening. Melnick Road is seeing increased traffic based on the fact that the school buses are parked there. There's a few businesses that are there as well that can't even access. The bad thing about it, or the concerning thing about it as well, is that as these buses are accessing Melnick Road off the perimeter highway, they're often backed up, creating safety concerns as cars are whizzing by on the perimeter highway. So I need a better plan for the Saint Germain area and the South Perimeter area, including Melnick, that demonstrates to residents that, hey, we're taking care of you. Again, it's not so much my frustration. I was elected to get these calls. It's their frustrations that I'm trying to address. So we need a better plan here because what we got now is not working. I recognize that the weather has been part of it. I've sent emails that go unreplied in terms of what the plan is. So I'm hoping by this motion that we can get something on the public record that says this area and these residents will be satisfied with the services that are receiving with respect to road maintenance.
Can I say something?
You're the chair.
So, okay, so I hear you. I hear your frustration. Again,
It's not my frustration, it's the residents'
Well, it's
frustrations that
frustration.
I am their voice at City Hall.
so when I had the same scenario with Waverly, and I think the same scenario is happening with your roads, is just they're shot. The base is shot. So I'm no engineer, but I'm looking to you, engineers and department people. When the road is shot, we can gravel it and dump stuff on it and we can do everything we want to do on it. But if it's shot, it's shot.
Lastly
And
is.
wait a minute, hold on here. And if we are to redo those roads, it's in the millions because Waverly was millions. So I don't know how many people live on those roads, but when you weigh out the millions to repair those roads, I think like a maintenance plan, a good maintenance plan, but the fact of the matter is the roads are shot and we can grade all we want, but it's not gonna be great.
Well, to add injury to insult is the fact that we took away the $250 municipal tax credit that they were receiving. And then the other part of it is, and it's more an enforcement issue, that there are residents out there that are running businesses using heavy equipment on those roads. And further exacerbating an already bad situation.
Yeah.
So again, it's I will take those calls 24/7, but it's their frustrations that we're trying to mitigate and trying to get safe, passable roads.
Well, sure, I guess the department can go away and come up with something, but I don't know what you're gonna do. How are you going to,
Well,
I mean,
if it's a
additional
budget
material
thing,
is just
if it's a
dumping.
budget thing, make a recommendation on a budget
Sure.
that would improve these roads to make them safe and reduce the amount of potholes that they consistently receive every time it rains.
Any comments on that?
Want to report back? That's what you're asking for.
Okay,
Well, yeah,
all right.
but I would say this, that, you wanna, I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Based on what you're saying, we did this before. Back in the day, we had a program. we had a program called the gravel, I forget the name of it, I'm trying to look it up here. The granular roads program, where we came in and we completely went in, did a whole new base. And then we came in and we did a chip seal.
Improvement.
No, it wasn't local improvement. No.
You're talking about, there's two. So anything where you're going back in through the chair to do an improvement, it's all local improvements, whether it's granular, chip seal, concrete or asphalt. Then what we also have is we have the granular roadway improvement program. That investment, like a Loudon or a McCreary Road falls under that. Waverly falls under that additional funding of the millions. These aren't $20,000 repairs.
No,
So that program, but again, that's one roadway, every.
So what's the budget line item at right now?
The granular roadway improvement program, is it 2.5 million on this year's budget?
Yeah, so that's way down. But we had it back in 2010.
I can quickly.
Back in 2010, I'm going by memory now. We had it as high as 5. I think we had it as high as 7 at one point.
Like,
And then they came in, and then typically, what was ironic about it was that, like I remember really well Redonda, because that was my nightmare. Okay, and it was all of a sudden they came and it was a $900,000 project. Okay, they go in, they put a whole new sub base,
right,
put in a new road, and then they chip seal. But the department came in late to chip seal. You got to chip seal in July or August when it's hot. They came in September. It was a total disaster. So the director of the day, Bill Larkin, called me and he said, only for another 100,000, Councillor Wyatt, I can put on an asphalt surface. I said, go to town. And that's how it happened. And so literally the $900,000 project became a $1 million project. However, the 90% of the money is everything what Janet's saying, all the underground underneath.
yeah.
So the surface, now that was back then. I don't know if those ratios have changed, but anyway.
So in the report, then you'll come back and you'll tell us what it would cost if we had to replace the roads?
Well, you're gonna like again, you're looking at roads where rural access to property roads that have become
Urban.
developed
Yeah.
entities, right? And there's been some future services collections, a nominal amount, right? But and a lot were pre-future service collections. And so the funding that even is available that we've collected, I know it's not substantive to do much of it. Any improvement to do with right of way in those properties where they bought, where it was an original granular road, the standard cross section of roadway, any improvement is considered a local improvement. When you're talking about the granular roadway improvements, we have the granular lane improvement program identified. We have type 2 road oiling. That's the chip seal program that Councillor Wyatt's referring to.
No, there was another program. But
and then we had just coming through. We had because it's under the I think.
Yeah, this is the same thing. at Waverly.
Was it 2 years ago, the province gave an additional $9 million for potholes in the city, of which I.
896,000 for granular.
Yes, so I would think that even with that $896,000 for granular, that there would have been some improvements throughout the city, not just my area, but throughout the city.
I had some.
You're like, with what you're referring to, you're saying put gravel down and immediately improves the road. When you have this type of moisture and you don't have drainage. So whenever you go down Paul Boulevard or you go down Fraser, take your pick, go down any one of them, take a look at the areas where the drainage is sitting adjacent to the roadway. That means the saturation, anything that's meandering through the surface and permeating out to the drains, that means it's sitting against there. Where is that? That's the sub base. Any weight that's going across that roadway is compressing that area, which is generally everybody's driving in the middle of the road when it's wet because your saturation is on your shoulders and it's pushing that area down. If it doesn't have a good drainage pattern, then it's absorbed and that's what you're seeing. You can add all the granular up top, it'll keep pushing down and moving out, but you don't have the original structure anymore.
To Councillor Luce's point. So again, I'm not a civil engineer, and I rely heavily on the public service to provide that information. But again, you know, this is sub-base issues, this is drainage issues. This is heavy equipment that's not authorized in those areas that, I mean, we have to get a handle on.
Well, right now, our policy for granular roadways is what you have to address. So again, we're gonna revisit, identify that statement. You've been quite clear, even in your motion, you're identifying what the current standard practice is. And so if that's a part that also needs to be addressed, because even if we rebuilt and improved that granular roadway, we are still dealing with accessible granular roadways that receive X amount of material every couple of years as its policy. And when we talked about the funding from the province and we talked about service standards, if you recall, I identified, you know, at a minimum, baseline minimum, you probably should be looking at about 33 cubic meters per lane kilometer of roadway. You remember my discussions?
Yep.
And to me, that's bare minimum. And so our policies don't reflect that statement. So I'd come back and I would provide a report on that. So
then in that report, could it identify potential improvements that are required to the granular road policies?
Well, the answer always is yes. You can always identify improvements, but there's a cost to that and who should carry the cost?
And then we can bring that to budget. But I mean, again, something has to be done to address the concerns that residents are raising. Even this morning, as of this morning, I'm getting people, you know, stating that their vehicles are being damaged as they're trying to get, and it's not about going 30 kilometers an hour or less around potholes. I mean, there's gotta be an expectation that you can drive on a road without damaging your vehicle. You know, the residents all through the city are paying a lot in property taxes. These residents are paying higher based on the size of their properties and whatnot and receiving minimal services. I have to be their voice to say, hey, what about us?
Yeah, when you say, and just through the chair, when you say minimal services, they're receiving the services that are council approved.
That was long before I got here, but
I'm just, and that's, I'll reiterate that in the report.
We'll get on with the report.
What does the motion say?
Report back within 60 days. We've done a lot of background work on this and provided previous report information. Well, that's 90 with Pearl, right?
Sure.
But if you want a solution to this, the solution is really to,
Rebuild,
pardon me?
rebuild the roads, like that's
Well-
they're gonna get fixed.
I've been trying to rack through these
a road a year at a time.
Well, I've been going through a year. I've been trying to look up the budget line to find the name of the program that we had. And it was, I think it was the
It's granular roadway improvement program from that's no longer in the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what you gotta recreate. Now, having said that, you could do a hybrid scenario, like we've done with back lanes. So in other words, what May spearheaded with the back lanes.
Yeah. 50-50
To say
in
to
2012,
the people, okay, you know what, you're gonna be, I don't know, 20%. You're gonna come to the table with 20% of the funds through an LI. The city will cover the other 80%. You go get the votes, and here you go, done. Now you got a new granular roadway program, but at least they're bringing something to the table. Because then, you know, they are getting something better above and beyond. They're getting asphalt roads, so that would be a motion to make the council get referred here.
80%, you still have to come up with budget for that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And the
Need a program.
citizens,
Yeah.
if you're doing a local improvement process, there's a certain percentage unless it's council mandated.
And we had a lineup of roads, just so you know, Mark, we had a lineup of roads literally lined up in that program. And then when we got through them all, that's why we stopped the program.
Yeah, we've again taken, we haven't stopped that program.
The budget.
This got cut funding.
It's got cut in.
Yeah.
So what I can do is I can organize a town hall for the residents in the Saint Germain area to
Work on policy first, then tell them.
Yeah,
well, okay,
tell 'em
Yeah,
that.
that'd be my advice.
okay.
Yeah, because they won't want anything, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor for
Aye.
the report carried, okay.
Yeah.
Left turn signal, so this is a motion that's come forward from Riel.
Yeah,
Want the
so-
department to study it.
Yeah, so if you could, and I think I've discussed it with David Patman already.
Okay.
Gave him a heads up that this was coming down the highway, so to speak.
Okay. Perfect.
And again, on a summer's month just like this, well, excluding today, people traveling eastbound on the perimeter highway towards Cottage Country. The lineup is all the way back off St. Anne's Road to Aldgate. And people turning into the Creek Bend area are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So a dedicated turn signal on southbound St. Anne's, eastbound onto the perimeter would definitely help in terms of alleviating some of those traffic congestion.
We don't really have perimeters say.
Through the
do we?
chair, a snafu or a bugaboo has come up with this. We understand the rationale,
Right.
no argument with that. However, this is a location where MTI has the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Even though the signal is within the city limits, it's an MTI
Yeah.
matter, it's their signal.
Okay,
So we can't really
right.
study it and make recommendations without them being on board with that. So
Okay, well,
what we suggest perhaps instead, and this is for consideration, is
write a letter to the province?
a motion to be forward to MTI for consideration.
Sure.
Sure.
And if they need to work with us on data collection. or
I've
something like that.
already spoken with the area MLAs, both, on the, what's his name? Tyler Blaschko,
Mhm.
on that as well. So, again, happy to help you out any way that we can get, MTI to move on this. I know that, I think it's 2027 or around there that there are plans to, extend or add another lane to, St. Anne's Road south of Aldgate. But I think this needs to happen quicker.
Okay.
Okay,
So you're gonna tweak it a bit then?
So your motion is to refer this motion to the provincial government?
correct.
Okay, so then this will become a recommendation up to EPC because EPC is the intergovernmental committee.
All right, okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right. Now we will move on to what's the last one.
Line painting.
Oh, line painting. All right. So, right, in reflecting back on the line painting report, does this seem feasible that we go out and see what it would cost to outsource some of it?
Yeah, like, again, I keep pretty frequent with our partners at Manitoba Infrastructure. Their last tender, they've had sectional tenders, so
Yeah.
south area,
Yeah.
and that for line painting. And then they keep their internal line painting crew now is just strictly for specialty construction and crosswalks and all that. But they're getting 3 bidders now. Which before they've owned, like years ago, was only one.
Mhm.
There is an increase there. Of course, we could go and investigate that. The pricing isn't much different based on what they received in their last tender than what we identified. I think I said to do the retracement for the city was 469,000. It's around
Yeah.
500 now too. Again, there's other logistics that we got to work out with.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's not unreasonable for the 90-day request.
And then I guess the question is, how long does a paint machine last? Like, should we be looking at replacing a paint machine?
Well, we got to make some decisions here, but again, when it comes to fleet management, there's a number of major decisions to be made. We got the line painting is a real critical one because generally, if you have resources where you have backup plans or you have the industry available to deliver that service,
Right.
that becomes less of a impact factor. But when it comes to line painting, we're at high risk there for downtime. And we don't have an alternative resource right now on retainer to
Right.
do anything about that downtime.
And should we not look at that then? I mean, I guess we'll look
Yes,
at like.
we asked for that a year ago and it was put to the budget process.
Yes, and I wasn't part of the budget and I remember all of that, so.
Yeah.
So
So as
this-
part of this report, we can refresh the information on that
Sure,
too.
okay, because it is, I mean, yeah, everyone's got concerns. My concern are for the vulnerable road users, where vehicles stop, where people cross, all of that. And I don't know, like, I don't really see a lot of painting still going on.
Well,
I know it's wet, I know all of that.
You know, you can use whatever excuses you want to. There's our high volume networks and our turning radiuses, like even here at William and King and that. You have to take a look at those problematic turns where you need to assist in directing traffic both winter and summer. So a lot of our line painting and markings, they last the season. Whereas we haven't really invested that next step in the permanent markings. Where we're getting either, we've tested them out between Clarence, just south of Clarence there on Pembina. We did Disraeli as part of their project is doing permanent markings. There's some different methodologies, and as time goes on, the technology improves. That these are some of the other things, but they cost money.
Right.
And they're not cheap, but again, looking for that long-term year-round serviceability, right? We had some challenges with the MMA markings south on Pembina, that they had that gray hue to them. And we were informed to go and pressure wash the markings. Well, we know how that's gonna perform well, right? So again, we gotta figure out our winter sand applications are a part of that contributing factors. But yeah,
Well,
90 days is fine.
Yeah, if you could update us on that,
Yep.
and then ideally, we could maybe get something into the budget process if, I don't know, 90 days works. Okay, so that's the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Who's moving it?
Oh, Council Chamber is moving it. In favor? Carrie, okay, motion to adjourn. Oh, wow.
Business.
Business.
Sharma did.
Oh, yes, Councilor Sharma's motion, oh my gosh.
Oh, she got something?
Okay, do you want to read Councilor Sharma's motion?
Absolutely. Whereas the occupancy of the Highland Point neighborhood has been established for some time and is growing, and whereas the Highland Point neighborhood has no existing transit service, therefore be it resolved that the Transit Department report back with a plan to extend transit service to Highland Point as part of the 25-26 annual service planning process for potential implementation in 2026.
No, we just flew past the transit master plan. Like,
Well,
this is pissing me off.
No, so listen, so what's gonna happen
Oh.
with this, she wants that motion, but this is what's probably gonna happen, right? Is the department is coming up with a whole prioritization matrix.
Then she doesn't have to move this motion.
Well, I know that.
Fine.
Totally agree
We'll
with
move
that.
receive as information.
That's what you wanna do,
Yeah.
receive it as information.
Well, everybody voted for the transit master plan on the basis that all these things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
And we start lining up
Well, can
queues.
we
I
align it
want
to
my
the
ward, you
transit
want your
master?
ward.
I know, I totally agree.
You know?
Can we adjust it so that it falls in line with the, what did they call it? With the prioritization plan,
You just got a transit service.
transit, is now undertaking, right? You know what I'm saying? They're undertaking a prioritization. So where does this fit in it and to report back?
Yes.
Okay. So you're gonna repeat that motion then?
So the Transit Department report back with a plan to extend transit service to Highland Point as part of the prioritization, the transit plan that is currently being undertaken, and report back to this committee.
Okay. Yeah, because now we all voted on this, that there's a prioritization plan that transit's gonna put in place, right? So, you know,
Add Transco to Westwood to that thing.
and then they'll come back and they'll have this prioritization matrix and they'll say, okay, well, here's where you're number 5, you're number 7, you're number 2 in getting in for expansion. Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Carry.
Or you're a peacemaker.
Pardon me?
You're a peacemaker.
Counselor Wyatt moved it.
Okay.
Okay,
And he also moved the suspension of the rules.
yes, he did.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I move suspension of the rules
You got a new
Look
motion?
at best practices for funding and funding sources for snow removal in other Canadian cities.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's it. Here you go.
Sure. Okay, that's his motion.
Yeah.
Okay, other cities will have different ways that they fund it and
Yeah.
I think that's really good. At least.
We'll
we
do
can
it. They're
look at
gonna check with cities anyway, do it at the same time.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Same time period, I guess, for reporting back on that other one.
It's the same time period as we're reporting back on the slush, ice and snow. Okay, all in favor?
Why?
Carried. Okay.
I'm
Motion to
sure.
adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Heat tomorrow?
Yeah, can you come?
Yeah. Are you gonna come?